I'm trying to touch the States this time. 2021. Yeah, show him I can still rap though.
Now I'm in the game, I was on the bench. First I was renting, now I'm collecting rent. First it with the Beamer, now I want the Benz. Spending all the bag like here I go again. Outside says chirp, now the camera phone. Told you I'ma keep the channels on. Why you acting different when the camera's on? Why you acting different like your paper long? 8 day wake up and I thank God. Bad decision got you wishing you could say nah. My city gritty, you could get hit any day now. On my mama, I'ma move my family way out. With some 20s, 50s, hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions, zillions. I'm talking Amazon money, talking so much money I could mess around and buy Amazon. I been winning, I'm like, why me? I heard these labels wanna buy me. I don't need you, boo, I style me. I roll G's and they grind me. Now I'm on my game, nothing is the same. Who am I to blame? Money made me change. Cardi in my ring when I'm switching lanes. Money in the carry on them Boeing planes. Money in the carry on them Boeing planes. Now I got $1 for all those rainy days. Ain't have a day off in like 80 days. I got hustles in like 80 ways. Kids if he won't take a lazy day. Wifey on me told me take a break. I keep going to the paper straight. Then it's trips out to Montego Bay. If I take the job, bet I get it done. I said it before, I'm a one-on-one. I just caught some ones, only wearing ones. Fornicate the funds, money made me calm. Diamonds on your neck, bet they on your neck. You want that watch, you better rock a tech. You want that chain, you better cop a vest. You want the check, but can you make it stretch?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to Intel and Lenovo presents Rise of Legion Apex Legends. My name is Scripps. With me is Ultimate Noob, and we're going to be your casters for the day. Keep in mind that we are already done with the first qualifier of this tournament. Today, we're going to be having qualifiers number 2 and 3. So, how are you feeling, buddy?
Well, I'm feeling great. I'm expecting a lot of flamboyant players today. We've got quite a few impressive teams in the lobby that have been performing at a high level in South Asian games over the last few years. We have teams like 1HP and Red Vipers here today, who are definitely going to be looking forward to putting on a show for all of us. And I'm definitely looking forward to spectating and commentating on these guys today.
Oh, yeah, those are some of the teams that you should be looking out for in qualifier number 2. But if these two guys are supposed to be the favorites of the lobby, then what is going to happen to the rest of them? Keep in mind that only the top 5 teams from this qualifier will make it to the group stage. And these teams have nothing but 3 games to prove themselves. One game on World's Edge, the next one on Stomppoint, and then back to World's Edge for the one last time. In these 3 games, they need to accumulate as many points as possible, whether that's by getting placements or by getting kills. They need to rack up as many points as possible and stay inside the top 5 if they want to make it to the group stage.
Yep, definitely right about that. And as we saw yesterday, having a strong start to your qualifiers today is going to be extremely vital to getting into the semi-final games on Monday. As we saw yesterday, we saw teams like Deadbeats who had a strong start, but they had a poor finish, but they still managed to get in to the semi-finals. And today we might see the same. Once again, we can expect the first game to be more like a slightly more passively played game, and then we see the lobbies getting a bit more aggressive as the games progress. Another team that we could probably look out for today as probably a dark horse, we have Team Straw Hats here, who is a full 3-stack console team. So this is the first 3-man console team we've had in the tournament so far, and the first console players in the tournament so far. So we'll definitely be looking forward to seeing them in their CQC fights. Definitely something to look forward to as we go on today.
Yeah, I mean, the whole PC versus controller debate has been going on for way too long, and maybe these guys can put that debate to an end today. Maybe they can prove once and for all that indeed the controllers are superior, or I don't know, maybe the PC teams will reign supreme. Either way, they both have their pros and cons. So I'm not concerned about which platform they're playing from. I'm just concerned about what moves they pull off today. Of course, everyone has strengths of their own, and some of the strongest teams in the lobby, you've already pointed them out. Tell me something, because you've known these teams, especially Red Vipers and 1HP, for so long, what do you think makes them special?
When it comes to teams like 1HP, I think it's their mechanical ability in their 3v3 fights. They're an extremely strong team, and they're also very resilient off drop. So I think we can expect them to drop on Frag West or Frag East today. They've been dropping there consistently for the last 2 years. If they change, it might be a bit of a surprise. But when they do lock down a drop spot, they never give it up, no matter who's challenging there. And they're really good on their rotational sense and in their fights. When it comes to Red Vipers, they're a very methodical team that's very well planned, and they have a very good IGL with them as well. And a fun fact about both these rosters is they both used to play for the same org. So from 1HP, we have Zafri and Nankabab, who used to play from Red Vipers, we had Nankabab and Zafri, who used to play under 1HP. With Crips, who've now moved on to separate
Hold
teams. So
on,
we have
hold
a bit of
on.
a rivalry.
That's not me. Keep
Oh,
in
it's not
mind.
you. It's Crips with a C. It's Crips
With
with
the
a
C.
C.
Hmm. All right, all
Yeah,
right. Had to make that joke. Sorry,
no,
go ahead.
the one who's better at Apex.
Oh, bro. Okay, no, ultimate, no, you can't do that to me. Okay. Anyway, jokes aside, I mean, he is indeed the better player. That's why he's in the server. I'm just hard stuck master. This guy's probably a chief predator like ages ago when he was like for 10 years old or something. But yeah, these guys definitely the better players than me. And continue your story. Do go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh no, it's all good. And definitely, we can't sleep on Red Vipers because Nankab and Zafri have been a very strong duo with the addition of Rahman in their team recently. So it's going to be exciting to see how they perform today. It might be a 2-horse race for first and second, but we can always expect a dark horse coming in and probably usurping their spots and just surprising all of us today in general.
Yeah, I just hope that this dark horse makes it into the top 5. That's it. Whether or not it overtakes the first two, that doesn't really matter today now, does it? All you have to do is get into the top 5, which it sounds easier than it actually is. Yesterday, we saw that the score disparity between the teams was just ridiculously high. The top teams, they had more than 50 something points. Meanwhile, the others, they're struggling to get into double digits. That's how much difference was there between the teams who are towards the left hand side of the scoreboard and the right hand side of the scoreboard, the bottom 10 and the top 10. Even between the teams who are in top 10 and then the teams in top 3, those guys also have like a massive points disparity. So it does seem like the lobby is a little bit skewed right now, and these two teams might have an easy cleanup on their hands today. But tomorrow onwards, things are going to get challenging for them.
Yep, definitely. When our South Asian teams run into the Southeast Asian pros who've been playing at the highest level tomorrow, it's going to be a new experience for them, and hopefully something that they can grasp onto as a learning experience for future tournaments as well. And as we saw with yesterday, I think when it comes to points, being consistent is going to be extremely important. We saw that the average to qualify yesterday was around 22 points, which means you would have to get around 6 to 7 points per game at least if you want to make it into the semifinals. So being consistent throughout these 3 games, or at least having one massive game, is definitely going to come in handy as today
Yeah.
goes on.
Yeah, having one massive game and making sure that the remaining games are not bad. I mean, as long as you
Right.
get like a decent amount of points and don't get eliminated right off the bat, I think you should be fine. But yeah, since there's only 3 matches per qualifier, having that one bonkers tonkers game is definitely going to help you. Now, speaking of these games, we saw some patterns yesterday. Both the World's Edge games went towards the northeastern side of the map, more towards Skyhook and the balloon tunnel above it. Meanwhile, the Storm Point match, it was all over the water regions in fish farms. And it's kind of scary how all these circles take you towards the edge of the map. And there are these teams who always land on the edge. So maybe we'll get to see something new today. Maybe we'll get to see some more early rotations towards those extremities of the map. But that's just my opinion. What do you think we'll get to see today?
Well, I feel like one thing from Apex that you can't count on is with the zone pulls. In the last 3 to 4 years of Apex, that has never been something that players can rely on because varying from tournament to tournament, zone pulls can change drastically
Hmm.
through the course of it. I've seen tournaments where it's pulled, well, like for an entire tournament, it's pulled either towards like the south side of the map or towards like the northeastern or
Hmm.
the northwestern side of the map. So sometimes you have games where the zone just decides to pull towards one side. Sometimes you have games where it's more spread out or it's more central. So how it fares out today, let's see.
Okay, then. Well, we'll see what the zones are like today. At least yesterday, both the World's Edge games followed like a similar pattern, if not the exact same. But yeah, Storm Point was an outlier. In fact, Storm Point was one of those games which I never thought I would have predicted the outcome of. We saw that a certain team yesterday, Team Epsilon, had the advantage, but they lost it so quickly. And that's just how quickly the tides turn in the map of Storm Point. So I'm not sure if these teams count on any particular map being as their strong one, but certainly having one of those in your back pocket is going to be helpful.
Oh, definitely, and especially like just staying focused and concentrated towards the end game without losing that is something that's going to help you not throw away your advantages because the smallest mistakes can definitely
Mm.
cost you an entire tournament, possibly. As we saw with a few teams yesterday, like CTG, who had a decent start but then didn't manage to capitalize on it, and then didn't manage to qualify yesterday.
Yeah. And speaking of the qualifications, let's just, before we begin, take a look at the teams that we are going to be seeing today. Today, we have Team 1HP and Red Vipers, the two teams that you should be keeping your eyes on. Then we have Primordials, Pal Gang, Hawaii, sorry, not Hawaii, Hevan Gaming. Apologies for me. There's another team called Simp Hub. It's a pretty creative name, not gonna lie. Another team called Rise, RPT, DT7, Revenant Esports, PABB, which I'm assuming means Potato Aim Big Brain, and Resemble. No, that's really their name. There's another team called Resemble Esports, Alchemist Esports, TLS, Nightwing, Ford, Slice Squad, Straw Hats, and Phantom Strikers. So these are the teams that we'll be seeing today. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The game is live. We're going all the way from Lava Fisher to Overlooked with the teams spreading out across the map.
Right, interesting drop here. We can see 1 HP might possibly be switching for a thermal drop here. And as we move, we see Red Vipers might be moving for a more climatizer zone, which they might be getting contested on early game. So we might be able to see a bit of action as we move towards there. We also see a couple of teams trying to contest Lava Siphon here. We have what looks like 3 teams, so it might be an action-packed start to today.
Yeah, and not just that, there's another team in launch site, which is very, very close to third-party distance. Let's see if these teams actually end up fighting each other, or does one of them back off?
Exactly, and I feel like the way these teams start this lobby in general is this is going to be looking for the first person to make their first move here, because I don't think you want to be the first team getting knocked out or getting third-partied this early on in the tournament. That 0-point game is definitely going to hurt if you get it this early.
A lot. And yesterday, at least we saw that in the first game, the teams were chilling out a lot more rather than going aggressively and playing for the kills right from the start. We started to see the aggression ramp up towards the end of the qualifier, but we didn't see something so sweaty to begin with, right? So I'm assuming the teams will be playing at a similar pace today. They're going to be spacing out these fights. And that is possible. Avoiding fights is possible for a lot of these teams over here, but maybe not for Phantom Strikers. They're down to 2 men already. It sucks that you're missing a teammate. It's probably not even their fault. Maybe their teammate glitched out or something like that. But yeah, I mean, they've got their backs against the wall and an enemy staring them through the front door. Let's see if they can engage or maybe get away from this.
Yeah, I've been on the receiving end of disconnects quite a bit in my career in the past, man. That's really it really demoralizes your team quite a bit. Speaking from first-hand experience, so it's definitely
not even your fault,
right? Exactly, right? And it's not something you want to have this early on in a tournament as well, especially for the first game. This is usually the game that sets the pace for the rest of the tournament, right?
Exactly.
And you're going to be playing catch-up basically from game 2 onwards, from the start, which is not the best start that you want to have.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday we saw something similar, right? There's a team where I'm assuming there was a Caustic and a Watson, very defensive squad, and they ended up getting wiped out because they just simply couldn't rotate into the zone. It wasn't their playstyle at all. And even this team that we are talking about, the one that has lost a particular member, they have a Caustic and a Valkyrie. Sure, one of them can move around, but the Caustic only really becomes relevant towards the end of the game. Now, if you can't even get towards the end of the game, if you get killed while rotating, now that's just gonna suck for you.
Yep, and you can see Rise here rocking, I think APAC South's most common meta comp, which is the Caustic, Gibby, and Valkyrie. Definitely something we didn't see much of yesterday. We saw a lot of teams going a bit off meta yesterday with the Wraith picks, but I think we're...
Pathfinder, Bangalore, everything.
Yep, and I think we're going to see a bit more meta changes today, but as we move on here, Pal Gang here challenging off drop right now with Non-Kebab just beaming him off the start. Bring him down to a 2v3. It should be a quick wipe here for Red Vipers.
Oh, Red Vipers, they get the drop on them. Already got everybody cracked, kicking down the doors, taking names, kicking ass as well. And as they've got this man down and locked, this should be the end of the first team. As Non-Kebab and friends, they get the first blood.
Looks like they've been third parties.
Yeah, let's see if they can reset. I don't think they have enough time. The Oxtards are just going to hold them back for now. The spray is amazing, but Non-Kebab can't get the knock in time. Needs to disengage, can't fall back as well. It's all down to Zafri, stuck in a 1v3. He does have the high ground, but I don't think he's got enough. And oh no, did he just waste his ultimate?
He just cancelled his ultimate. Well, looks like might be a fatal mistake for Zafri, but let's see if he can get out of here. Rather unfortunate for Red Vipers here, because they did end up getting third-partied by a duo.
Exactly.
I think they would have played that a bit more aggressive if they had known that this was a duo, because 1HP did already have a man down. They could have 2v2'd it, but just not having that information just ended up costing them.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that the remaining Valkyrie on Red Vipers probably would have tried to grab banners and then make a run for it using the ultimate, but they can't make that move right now as well. They're gonna have to wait a little bit for the ultimate to recharge up. But yeah, I mean, imagine getting third-partied by a duo. That is just gonna hurt them. Sure, they made the right decision to fall back at that moment, but had they known, things would have been very different. And Non-Kebab almost did manage to beam down the Watson, so that also is something you need to consider. But that was the fight at Climatizer. Now we're going to be heading towards the south of the map on the borders of Tree, where RPO, they have their opponent in sight, and it looks like they're willing to chase.
Prey moving in here, trying to get that big chunk of first pick damage here. It's going to have to be careful they doesn't get third party here on this move in. As we see, we move back on the Sim Hub here, possibly finding Zafri again. Who might try getting banners, as you said earlier, and try to get out of here so he can possibly salvage something from this game.
Well, he's just trying to run circles around them. He's just leading them on a wild goose chase.
Yep.
Valkyrie versus Valkyrie, Wings versus
here,
Wings.
hunting him down. Is he gonna get turned on? Zafri here gets the first knock, brings it down to a 1v1. Will he be able to clutch it up? He's got to heal and reset now. I don't know if I can say, well, I'll just say Water, because if I say the second part of his name, I'd be violating a contract. But Water is going to try to get the revive on iTrash here, possibly reset this game. But it buys enough time for Zafri to get out of there and possibly get a res on Non-Kebab, whose banner he might have gotten while he came back here.
Yeah, I just hope he's managed to recover both the banners and not just one of them. He even managed to down iTrash, and imagine if he had enough time to thirst. Water was pretty far away, and if that last Valkyrie had what it takes, and if he had the cojones, he could have thirsted this one as well. But obviously he's going to play the long game, try to gather more points. He's already got 3 KP. Doesn't want to push this too much for just 1 KP more. He'll much rather go for the placements.
Yep, definitely. And knowing Zaf, they're probably going to play this smart and try to get Non-Kebab back in the game because they have a much better chance getting it back duo. If he's gotten both their banners, that's going to be absolutely monumental for Red Vipers, seeing how they get back into this.
I mean, to be honest, both the banners were pretty close to each other, so it's not like it's super difficult for him to retrieve it. But yeah, these guys have to cover a massive amount of distance in order to get to the next circle. They're currently in Climatizer, and they gotta go all the way beyond south of Survey Camp. That's a long journey.
Well, but in a twist, he's got both of their banners, so we're potentially going to be seeing the entire Red Viper squad here getting back into the game. I think he's probably going to craft some meds here so he can live long enough so he can get out of here. He does have the Valkyrie ult in hand here to get his team out of the zone. So should not be a problem, and now we have the entire Red Vipers roster getting back into the game. As we see 1 HP Crips here just wiping out an entire team towards the thermal side of the map.
Oh, 1 HP. Let's take a look at what these guys are doing. Let's take a look at which unfortunate team is up against them. But before we can even switch to the action, 1 HP completely destroying their opponents. We didn't even get to see a glimpse of that violence. That's how quick that fight was. And that's how you know 1 HP are dangerous. You don't even get to see them. They'll show up unannounced, and they'll get past without a single scratch on them. They'll walk past unscathed.
And we move back on to RPO here. We saw them earlier in Tree. They might be moving in on what could be 1 HP because they do land in thermal sight here. So let's see how this push goes.
And then, RPO, if they are indeed up against 1 HP, then they have got a massive amount of work to do. 1 HP already feeding themselves pretty well. Just managed to get a nice squad wipe. And if they are the opponents of RPO, then these guys better be careful. Because at this point, given the amount of damage that 1 HP have done, I'm sure that some of them must be on purple shields. And these guys are just on blues. Oh, never mind. They were up against Primordials. So that entire storyline has to be scrapped.
Scrapped indeed. Speaking of scrapped, Rahman from Red Vipers has just been scrapped out of the lobby as he just got respawned, and we saw it in the kill feed there a few seconds ago while we were spectating these guys. So Red Vipers back down to a duo now.
Oh, that's what happens when you try to go for the res like that. You're gonna attract all the attention in the world towards you and probably end up losing your members again. And as they donate yet another kill point to their opponents, they're just hoping that the surviving members can make it to the last few circles. Keep in mind that 1 HP is indeed the top team of this lobby, and if they die early, it's going to be disastrous. Right now, though, Primordials flying across 2 teams, just surpassing them But given the amount of intel they've gathered, if they play their cards right, they can get the other two teams to fight each other, and they turn into the third party. If they play their cards right, and that's a big if.
Yep, especially with the choke that they're holding right now. This is a very strong choke to hold for these northern thermal zones. Whenever it comes to playing endgame over here, it's a very strong position. It's a lot of cover for them with just two angles to watch on usually when teams moving in. So if you can hold down pressure pretty well on these angles here, it should be an easy hold for them. Unless they get Valkyrie ulted on by a random team, which does happen quite a lot in these games.
Yeah, we saw a random Valkyrie ult yesterday in Thermal Station. It did not end well for them. Let's just see if these guys will also land directly on top of them, or will they try to just go beyond them? Oh, hold on then. Looks like Primordials have taken this compound, and no, there's more than just two teams in the vicinity. There's three, if I'm not wrong. They're landing onto another one as well. There's people everywhere. There's nowhere for RPO to go. Looks like they have to go for the fight. They try to take the top of this bridge, but their opponents will just relinquish this area and go to the low ground instead. Looks like the fight can't be avoided right now as Brame already landing some nice wingman shots. But
The ult does come down, so they have to move back a bit.
Yeah, and they have cover to secure themselves from the Gibby ult, but will the other team be safe over here inside this tunnel? There's absolutely nowhere left for them to run, nowhere left for them to hide. Will they be able to bide their time and get to safety? Seems like they've made it, but maybe one of them will go down. The Gibby bubble comes through at the right time. And RPO isn't close enough to continue chasing. They have to continue holding this region, but they can still go for the far range
shots coming in from Prem here.
Yeah, indeed, and he just completely destroys Suti Place. Meanwhile, RPO, they're kind of biting off a bit more than they can chew. And as they get killed in every single direction, they just need to make sure they don't end up fighting too many teams at once. Because right now, while they have one of these teams cornered outside the ring, the other team has managed to circumvent them from the tunnel region. Let's hope it doesn't come to bite them later on in the butt.
Definitely, and they played this very well. Like, they landed on the spot, which was contested by two teams, managed to push one to low ground and absolutely wipe the team that was trying to hold them out or rotate through the tunnel there on the other side.
Yeah.
But it seems like Ford has managed to reset their whole team after getting knocked off there by Prem earlier on. That raid portal coming in handy for sure.
These raid portal clutches, we've seen several of them yesterday, and indeed they are amazing to look at, especially in these last zones when there's plenty of verticality involved and the portal plays just either make or break your game. That's the kind of stuff that really makes this game worth watching. Meanwhile, here comes 1 HP in the region, but they have someone else in their sights right now. And as Crips is able to take down iTrash, he's gonna be able to kill off the last member, Water, as well, and that should be the end of that thermal team that we... No, not the thermal team. This is, I believe, the Climatizer team that we saw earlier, who Nankebab was fighting.
Yep, this is the team that ended up wiping off Red Vipers early on in the game. And 1HP did capitalize on the fact that they were duo, so it was quite an easy wipe for them in the Dorito building here.
Let's see if they can consume these KPs as quickly as they consume the Doritos. RPO looking really unhealthy. Almost every single one of them is in danger. Heathen's already down, and so is Oshom. Apologies if I don't pronounce his name correctly, but Brame really has to go on a rescue mission over here. And he tries to get the kills. He's going to be spraying them down. Good kill on Device City player, but are they out of danger just yet? They need to go for the reset really quickly. They are lucky enough nobody is trying to push them, but they need to make their way into the zone, and there's not too much natural cover available.
Yep, they do have their Valkyrie ult, but they have to focus on hitting that as fast as they can, because the zone is coming in a few seconds now, and they've got to find a spot just to cozy up and for the next zone.
Oh, let's see if they can actually find this one. The Valkyrie ult might just be their saving grace, but if they land on top of the wrong team, this could be burst. Airborne Gaming, though, the first time we've seen them in action, and this is happening all the way towards Landslide, the other end of the map from where we were seeing all the action before, so maybe these guys could be isolated, but they're trying to go for a rotation outside the ring, phasing out. This could be a bait. If he leads his enemies back to his teammates, and if they actually bite this bait, this would be a great way for Hevan to force their opponents to relinquish their zone advantage and fight them in this location, the portal place, to get them back into the safe region. Is it gonna be enough? Just barely, just barely. Looks like Hevan Gaming will live to fight another day, but they're not out of danger just yet.
Oh, they're not, and they have another fight coming in right now. Hairwan Gaming here trying to take on a crypto team by the looks of it.
Oh my god, this is so risky. This bubble gives him a little breathing space, but the missile swarm doesn't hit. He ends up actually stunning himself, and that is just ridiculous. I'm surprised he's still alive, but maybe this Tusk can help him go for the armor swap, and that's exactly what they need right now. They do not have time. There's very little time for the next zone to close, and they need to fight two teams to find a way inside and then find a spot inside as well.
Yep, definitely, and they don't want to get caught out while chasing this other team just to clean up the kills here, because there's going to be quite a few teams looking at them with 9 teams left going into round 5.
Looks like Alchemist Esports have one of the best spots right now. They've got this building for themselves, but they don't want to hold themselves inside. They in fact want to go ahead and thirst Papilloma. Plenty of kills for Ace Carnivore, and with this, Alchemist Esports are securing a couple of KP for themselves as well. This building will keep them safe momentarily, but they will need to relinquish this area and go somewhere either above the bridge or under it. Let's see what kind of elevation they choose to go for here.
Yep, and I think it's the team that holds the pipeline around the pipeline that might have the most success today with picking up kills, because there's going to be so many teams rotating in. You can see him spotting that trailer up there, possibly calling out for a push or a rotation onto that, because that might be a bit of a power spot, but they might be looking to pick up some kills or clean up a rat that they might have spotted right here.
But maybe cleaning up that rat will expose them to a certain amount of teams which they are not ready to face right now. And more than that, they need to find a spot. Where do they go? It's not just them, even 1 HP. They have been displaced by the zone. At least they've got the Dorito building in their sight. So if things go south, they can always just push this one particular team and try to get inside. Their teammates are holding the crane as well. So they're just trying to get angles onto their opponents for now. They do have the angles. They might have a little bit of damage, but is that enough to clear a path for them?
Yep, 1 HP doing a very good job at holding a big chunk of space here, taking down Dusty. There's a Zeox up there, and they're going to try to claim that rock for themselves.
Nice.
They have an extremely good height advantage to play off, as Zeox just rains down shots below him.
Rains down shots, and he's raining down death and destruction. His opponents need to scramble for cover. They might need to take the little platform underneath the roof of the bridge, and that is not a platform you want to be stuck inside. Any ordnance coming your way is going to deal massive amounts of damage, and you can't jump off it. If you do, there's no way back up unless you're a Valkyrie or something. But with 1 HP having all the angles, the only thing that could take down a team like 1 HP is themselves if they end up biting a bit more than they can chew. They just need to focus one team at a time. Alchemist Esports as well, just somehow finding cover for themselves, avoiding utility damage, just healing themselves up as much as possible, but I don't think this is sustainable. They're going to burn out through meds really quickly.
They've also got the toughest rotation going into the next zone. They're Alchemist Esports. I think they're going to be targeted by at least 3 to 4 teams as they move in. So it's going to be a very, very tough next zone. So they're just going to have to try and stay alive for as long as they can, hopefully. But it's not looking good for them right now.
Oh, just a few more seconds for the carnage to be unleashed. For all hell to break loose. 1 HP. They're committing to the bridge. Oh, actually not. They're just going to retrieve the meds. My bad. I really thought they were going to send it onto the other team over there, but then they've got a decent amount of elevation and they don't want to give it up. Not until they clear some space for themselves and maybe wipe out a team or two. If they can at least just wipe out Alchemist Esports, that's going to make things so much more easier for them, right? Then they can continue focusing on the teams that are actually on the bridge without having to worry about these right side off angles. And here's a rat. Let's see if he gets discovered by someone. I can't pronounce his team name though.
Neither can I. It's too many syllables in there. Way too much. I think we got to have a syllable limit on this tournament. There's way too much to pronounce right there.
Yeah, that's quite a mouthful. But these guys, they don't worry about the mouthfuls. They only worry about the heads and the domes of the opponents that they want to crack. Oh, juicy wingman shots by Crips. And he's dealing plenty of damage onto Warlord. Got another crack as well. His entire team in front of him has no shield. Noxy just managed to pop a bat off, but is that going to be enough? His teammates still pretty much naked. 1 HP going in for the full send, and this could be the death inbound, but Zeox gets down, and the hands are fit in too. Yeah, and I don't think he's in a position from where he can be recovered. Oh yeah, he is indeed. But This is just something else. How can they go for a res in the open like this? They've lost Crips as well. And while he was trying to protect his fallen teammates, he might have just paid that price with his life. Is that gonna be a worthy sacrifice though? They get Zeox back online. Bat also available. 1 HP, have the elevation, but Heaven Gaming is stuck inside this trailer.
And they've also managed to reset their entire team, now bringing it to a 2v3 against 1 HP. 1 HP down to losing their vital IGL Crips right there, but let's see if they can make it out of this alive.
Oh, they've got a couple of nades and some termites. Maybe if they can toss them inside, it should force Heaven Gaming out. But if Heaven Gaming does come out, everyone else is going to focus on them. And El Rata tries to climb above. Of course, pays the price for it. The Sky nades raining down on them. 1 HP still managing to survive and stay alive in this situation. But can they thrive? Heaven Gaming now going in for the full 10. Sashuji surviving on 1 HP, but he needs to find his enemies. Oh, and he manages to do so. 1 HP are out of this game, and Heaven Gaming get prime real estate for themselves.
Yep, there we go. One of our tournament favorites here has been eliminated here, one of the stronger teams. But Heaven Gaming holding strong there, holding on to their high ground advantage as well, and now having a ton of resources to deal with this last fight here.
Two teams still alive. It's Heaven Gaming up against Shub and the boys. Scrapper turning into a little bit of a head scratcher over here as he's scaling the mountains, but he gets spotted head on, and the beam, it is amazing! It destroys everybody! He's aiming it at the populace and decimating them, just burning them alive. Somehow the shield bats are still popped, and these guys are keeping themselves alive, but do they have a fighting chance? The reset has completely happened, and we are back to square one, but they have lost elevation, and maybe Heaven Gaming, they might have just thrown away their advantage, but as long as they can keep this team downstairs, they should be good. Warlord now locked in a 1v1. Will he be able to go up against his opponent with the Peacekeeper? Both of them going out with their shotguns, and the pumps, they're not that great. The crack still happens. They need backup, and they need it right now. There's so many elevations on this fight. There's 2 people on top of the bridge, 1 inside the trailer, and the rest of them just underneath. It's chaos and carnage all over the place.
I think the ending of this game is going to be decided by who stays up here on high ground, because that's where the zone's going to be pulling. Looks like Heaven Gaming has managed to stabilize a bit up here and just salvage part of themselves, but no. Looks like they've got a bit of trouble to deal with right now as they holding that high desperately there with this PK.
But even though he has the high ground, he has nothing else. It's a 1v3, and if he drops down, he's going to be dropping down into certain death. He's stunned. No way he can continue fighting.
Oh, it's a 1v1.
Oh, he actually pulled it off!
PABB with the win, and he pulled it off. He pulled off that clutch because both of the other members from High-One Gaming were stuck on low ground, so all he had to do was win that 1v1 there for the clutch because the Valkyrie was the only one who can get up there.
My goodness, imagine having your players alive, but they can't participate in the fight, and you end up losing the entire game because of that. Oh, that's gonna be one really, really bad way to lose a game. That's gonna hurt, man. That's gonna cause sleepless nights.
Yeah, High-One Gaming definitely going to be kicking themselves over losing that game. They had the high ground advantage. They knew the zone was pulling on to them. But all they had to do was basically stand their ground, to stay up there and just wait, just play a patient game. But hasty decision-making ended up costing them that game and giving PABB a win that in most situations they maybe would not have won. But somehow, this is a battle royale, so weird things do tend to happen quite a lot. So PABB with quite a miraculous win there to start off game one with unlikely winners, but that's the beauty of tournaments, and that's the beauty of BR in general.
Oh, that is the beauty of BR in general. Like, imagine PABB was the one on the low ground at one point, and these guys, High-One Gaming, they had the high ground. But despite all of that, it just seemed like the high ground advantage did not matter for them. Somehow PABB, on the basis of just sheer individual brilliance and really good Peacekeeper pumps, were able to win this game.
Yeah, but keep in mind it was also due to a lot of questionable decision making towards the end by High-One Gaming. The impatience there towards the end definitely did cost them that game, which was technically served to them on a silver platter by 1 HP when they decided to themselves go on a bit of an impatient push and then ended up getting wiped off while High-One was holding that trailer. So all they had to do there was just stand their ground and wait, but seems like they couldn't.
Yeah, 1 HP. They were the tournament favorites, and sure, they make it into the top three. But after they died, it kind of gave, like you said, Haiwan Gaming the game on a platter, which they basically discarded. Let's take a look at the highlights, and then we'll get to see exactly how
Yep.
the last few fights panned out.
We can see Red Vipers here just clearing off their landing spot with quite a bit of ease, but he got immediately third party there off drop. And let me move on to RPO here, who were quite impressive in their fights as the game went on, but they did get unlucky on their rotate towards the end of the game. We can see them, there's like a pretty decent fighting team here going into the next few games. We can definitely keep an eye on them for more POVs a bit later on.
Oh, well, that's one fighting team I want to keep my eyes on. Other than that, even Haiwan Gaming, these guys were also fighting all over the place, right? I mean, there were so many teams towards that train station coming in from Thermal, and instead, Haiwan came in from Landslide. That's probably why they had an easy way inside the circle, but after that, it just came down to holding this trailer, which they did brilliantly.
Yep. Also keep in mind they had to leave a trail of bodies as they made their way into the spot here on top of Landslide here, the Haiwan Gaming, because they had to move through at least 2 to 3 teams that they had to kill before they could even set themselves up over here, which was surprising that no team decided to even hold that trailer prior to that. But Haiwan Gaming did a good job at recognizing that that was the end game spot, but unfortunately for them, did not have managed to clean it up.
Yeah, these staging zones, they're always some of the most interesting to look at. In every Apex tournament that I've casted so far, these staging zones, they can never be predicted. At one moment, you might think that a certain team has an advantage, and the next moment they are dead. And this kind of this variable playstyle, this unpredictable ending, especially towards these staging zones, is what makes this game beautiful. At least in other ending zones, like let's say somewhat like Fragment or maybe along those skyhook circles, we could to some extent predict what was going to happen. But this staging area, we didn't even try to predict.
Yep, and I think today, more than ever, we've seen a more spread out distribution of action and kills across the board as compared to yesterday's games. There was fights all over the map today. Instead of it being more one sided with like 2 to 3 teams just dominating the entire feed, it was spread out. There were teams like Alchemist, teams like RPO, teams like Hair One Gaming, and PBB who just spread out the fights and then picked up quite a few KP. And then we had 1HP as well, playing their usual aggressive playstyle. But once again, a bit of hasty decision making in the end did cost them with the third place, I think.
Yeah, third place. Hey, it's still not a bad start. I mean, they have plenty of kills, I'm sure. Third placement point. I think they should be having enough points. And there's still 2 more games remaining in the day. So definitely 1HP can have a chance to redeem themselves. But this win that PABB has been able to take, especially in a difficult lobby like this, where the top contenders like Red Vipers were wiped out pretty early on, this is going to create opportunities for teams like Haiwan Gaming and PABB, which I hope they don't lose by the time we reach the last game. I hope they can hold on to this advantage and just retain the amount of points they had.
Yep, we have to hope that teams like Hairone and PABB do not get complacent as the next 2 games go forward. They don't rest on their laurels a bit too much by just thinking that we've got one big game now. We can go on autopilot for the rest of the tournament, because you never know what might happen in the next few games. Who knows? Red Vipers, we might see a comeback from them with a big game, because they do have that tendency. They do have that big game in them once in a, like for throughout a tournament. They have that one big game usually. We can see the same with 1HP. I've played against them in quite a few tournaments, and they do have that tendency to pull off a 30-40 point game sometimes, which they have done in the past. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes on. But the teams who are at the top right now are definitely going to have to just relax, calm themselves down, and definitely not get complacent as they move on.
30, 40 points in a single game. You've seen them do that?
I've seen them
Bro,
hit 30.
that that sounds like too much. I think the highest that a team was able to get in yesterday's matches was 25 in a single game.
Right.
I could be wrong, but I think that was the highest
It
in a
was
single
it
game
was
yesterday.
yeah, it was 25 by Team 420. Yep, that was
Yeah,
yesterday.
in Storm Point, right?
Yep. But
Yeah,
we
so that
have
was
we have seen 30-point games before in the past, and I'm hoping that we see one today.
yeah.
Hopefully a lot of action to come over the course of these next 2 games, and later on for a 6 o'clock broadcast for qualifier number 3 as well, which is coming up.
Yep. Now, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, these are the last days of the qualifier. Qualifier 2 is live right now, 2 more games remaining. We should be done in like an hour or maybe a little more than that. And then at 6 o'clock, once again, we have qualifier 3. So all the qualifiers will be done today. We're going to be starting with the group stages tomorrow. And while we have the time, let me just give you a little rundown of what you can expect in the next few days to come. So tomorrow, when we start with the group stages, the 15 teams that qualify, I mean, 5 from each qualifier, they will be meeting 15 other invited teams. And these teams include the best of the best players of the world. You have players like Jen Burton and everyone who are going to be participating in something like that. So these 15 qualified teams meet 15 invited teams. These 30 teams are broken down into 3 groups of 10 each. 2 groups play each other at the same time: A, B, AC, BC, and stuff like that. So we keep rotating groups around, and at the end of the group stage, the top 20 teams who have the highest points will make it to the finals, which begin on 22nd of this month.
Yep, definitely. It's something to look forward to over the next week, because this is going to be the last tournament that these big teams play before they head off to LAN in the US, which is coming up later on next month. So this is also going to be the first time that these guys are going to be playing a tournament ever since the Sweden LAN. So it's going to be interesting to see how the games play out as we move forward.
Yeah, let's take a look at the score and see which team is on top, which team is in danger. And Potato Aim, Big Brain, they've got 20 points in this match. Pretty cool. 12 from the placement, 8 kills. 1 HP also have 8 kills. In fact, all top 3 teams have 8 kills. And surprisingly, it's an unlikely contester, Alchemist Esports, who has the highest kill points. We didn't see too much of that action. We only saw them getting out of that lab building and beaming down one team on the screen, but I'm assuming that all the other kills must have been off camera. That's probably why they slipped under the radar.
Yep, and as you can see here, Check Kumar here, the rat actually managed to get himself all the way into, well, not he
This would
definitely
have been
managed to
at
get
least
himself all
top
the way into
four.
top three. That was top
Top
three.
five. Top
The 7 points. That was
Yeah.
7 points for Check Kumar. So he managed to rat himself in from top 8 to top 3. That was pretty impressive, and I think that was the caustic that High Gaming ended up killing on top of the trailer there that we saw towards the end of the game. There was like the random caustic who pulled up through a raid portal.
Yeah. So Check Kumar managed to out survive 1 HP. Now that is an achievement in itself. So while you guys have been able to get to double digits, there's several other teams who are knocking on the doors. I mean, this time the points disparity is not as high as we saw in the games yesterday, right? Even the
Right.
teams who are from who are residing currently between the 4th position to the 8th position have a decent amount of points, and the distribution is much more evenly spread out today as compared to the games yesterday. Now, this should make things really interesting because yesterday we were able to figure out the top 2 teams before the last game even started. And then all we had to do was figure out who's going to be in the top 5 towards the later stages of the qualifier. This time, if the points are much more evenly spread out, the suspense is just going to keep on building up until the last moment. And I like that.
Exactly, and we're not gonna be going into a game 3, hopefully, just knowing who our top 5 is gonna be, and it's gonna be really exciting to see uh, if there's any dark horses from the bottom 10 that do end up pulling up into the top 5 as well. So we could be looking forward to seeing that, and we can also see teams that underperformed in game 1, such as Red Vipers, making a comeback over the next 2 games.
Yep, hopefully we'll get to see all sorts of comebacks and a really close competition. But all of this, ladies and gentlemen, will happen after a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Intel and Lenovo presents Rise of Legion Apex Legends. My name is Crips, with me is Ultimate Noob, and we just got done with the first game of Qualifier 2. That was World's Edge. We have Team Potato Aim Big Brain. Keep in mind, it's quite the mouthful name, but they were able to win the first game in a wonderful clutch against their opponents. And while they did not have the numbers advantage, their opponents kind of threw away the advantage that they had by relinquishing the high grounds and then just giving 1v1s to PABB. Now, if that didn't happen, things would have been very different. But surprisingly, we had some rats surviving all the way into the third place position. That was Check Kamar. And then some of the tournament favorites like 1HP going out at number 4. More than that, Red Vipers getting eliminated pretty early in the game. Now, these are the kind of storylines that keep the tournament exciting because that's just making this points table be more concise and be more evenly spread out. Unlike yesterday, where we were able to figure out the winners before the last game even started. Next game is going to be Storm Point. Do you have any expectations coming from this one?
I feel like we're gonna see a few teams outperform their last game. I think we're gonna see Red Vipers make a comeback here on Storm Point here because they might have a point to prove, especially by going out so early in the last game. I think by 1 HP standards, fourth place was also disappointing for them in a qualifier. So they're going to be looking to redeem themselves as they move on. And I think we might see RPO having a very good game on Storm Point here today as well. So the Storm Point games usually are going to have a slower start than World's Edge because the map is way more spread out, because you're not going to expect third parties to come in as fast as they do on World's Edge because of how the map is designed. So we can expect a very slow start to the game unless we do get some contests off drop 50-50, which does happen since it's the first Storm Point game of today's lobby, so the teams don't really know where each other is landing. Usually what happens is teams usually call that out in the pre-game lobby, but some teams just do not
I don't
respect
care about that.
they don't respect dibs. So where we might see some ego drops today. I hope we see some ego drops today, because
Yeah,
then
same.
that means that that's some action for us to watch without having to wait for potentially mid to late game before we see our first bit of action here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Even I'm hoping that we get to see some early game conditions, especially towards the antenna and the barometer region, because I love fighting in those regions. I don't know, those regions are just so visually aesthetic. The blue water around you and all the greenery and the aesthetics, it would just be so fitting with the crimson of your opponent's blood. So yeah, I don't know. Please don't think of me as a savage, but yeah, those are my personal favorite spots to witness a fight in. I want to ask you, what are your personal favorite spots on Storm Point?
My favorite spots on Storm Point would definitely be Nordpad. It would be Mills, and along with that, it would be probably Down Beast. Down Beast is a very
So
good
just
spot for end games.
towards the northwestern part of the map then.
Yep. The northwestern part of the map is a very interesting spot to have end games, because you can definitely have spots that can accommodate at least 7 to 8 to 9 teams when it comes into that last circle, with the amount of cover that's there because of how well the map is designed
Mhm.
in those spots. When it comes to a more central zone or a more of a northern zone or a northeastern zone, it's the map is more it's more acclimated towards who holds those spots early on. But with more of the southwestern or the northwestern sides of the map, you can move in a bit. You can afford to play the edge and move in a bit late on those sides. Um,
Yeah.
so we can definitely look forward to seeing a lot of entertaining fights towards the end of this game. Excuse me, but we will see a lot of entertainment towards the end, and it might be a mouthful for both of us to keep
Yeah.
track of the amount of action that goes on, and hopefully we do get to see that. But it's all to find out as the next game starts.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you pointed out that the northwestern part of the map can like really hold a lot of teams, especially towards that last few circles, which is quite the opposite of what we saw yesterday, right? We had the circle go towards Scale Station and Fish Farms, that particular region, just towards the east. I'm sorry, east. Yeah, my geography is bad.
Yeah,
East
it
of
was the
Launchpad in that particular region, and that is such an open region in the water over there. Unless you have characters that can really move, like move like an Octane with the jump pad, or maybe like a Pathfinder or something like that, or maybe even an Ash with the ultimate, you guys are gonna be stuck there. Even the Gibby Dome can't save you in such an open area like that.
Yep, Ashe is definitely a legend that's made for Stormpoint. She's
Yeah.
definitely something that's extremely meta that you'd see pro players using quite a lot when it comes to Stormpoint. And I'm hoping we see a bit more Horizon as the tournament goes on, because that's another character that is it's just a joy to spectate, especially when people are well versed with the movement tech. And they have the aim to back it up as well. It's a really exciting character to spectate.
I think at this point, almost everybody in the lobby has that level of mechanical prowess, right? Whether it's movement, whether it's aim. I mean, if you guys are participating in a high stakes tournament like this, you definitely know what you're doing. And I would love watching every single one of these players play. Of course, some a little more than the others, because we've seen them in previous tournaments, like teams like 1HP and
Yeah,
the Red
RPO,
Vipers and all
Red
these.
Vipers. Yep.
Yeah, even RPO for that matter. I haven't seen a lot of RPO, but I've definitely seen Nan Kebab and all his other friends play in the tournaments before. So yeah, there's certain expectations that we have from teams like these. But then again, I'm glad that teams like PABB and Hevan Gaming, these underdogs can step up and upset the hierarchy. And that's the best part about this game. You might have been the best for a long time, but you may or may not be the best today. And you gotta defend that title.
Yep, and so far they don't seem to be doing a good job at defending it, and it's proving to be more of an underdog story today, as we've seen with two teams that are not that we're not used to seeing in the top two or top three, just rising up. So it'll be exciting to see how they progress over the course of the next two games. This next Stormpoint game is going to be vital to see, because if they do manage to get another top five with a decent amount of kills, they could potentially see them locking their place in for the semifinals that's coming up tomorrow.
Oh, well, I am really excited for the semifinals, man. I just can't wait to tell you who all I'm looking forward to see in action. All these players that we're going to be inviting tomorrow, they are like the best of the best in the whole goddamn world. And naturally, when these teams from South Asia are facing them, they are also going to be facing an opponent of higher caliber. So I want to see if these qualified teams can give the invited teams a run for their money. And if so, then by how much? I want to see how many underdogs can we send through to the finals.
Yep. I feel like the invited teams might think that it might be a walk in the park for them, but we can hope that some teams that qualify from these qualifiers can possibly give them a run for their money. But it's all to be seen, because they do not have the experience that, say, the bigger teams have in the lobby from the 15 that have been invited. So it's definitely going to be interesting to look out for a few teams. It'll be exciting to see how the top performers from these lobbies, like the first and second place teams, end up performing as the next 3 days progress over the course of the semifinal.
Yeah. Next 3 days, semifinals. And then after that, you got the grand finals starting from 22nd. It's going to be a blockbuster week of Apex Legends action. So you guys, you better subscribe to this channel and keep your popcorn ready. In fact, there's going to be a tiny break between qualifier 2 and 3. Uh, Almost like an hour or something like that. I would recommend go shopping during that time. Go ahead and buy all the snacks, the chips, the popcorns, the soda, whatever it is that you want to have on a Sunday. And that's one good thing, because I did indeed revise the way I did figure out the days of the week, unlike me being confused yesterday.
Well, he did revise the days of the week, but he has forgotten to get his popcorn today, because our breaks were so short today.
Yeah, exactly.
Crips might be a bit edgy over the next few games, because he definitely hasn't eaten or drank anything during the break. But we move on to our Stormpoint game now with Revenant Esports here.
And about the esports, let's see where they drop. We've already seen a couple of teams leave the dropship, and surprisingly, the southern part of the map is somewhat spread out. You've got TT7 heading to a C0 cave, maybe even Punisher and Go heading in the same region. There's a small possibility that they might change course and head towards the mill instead later on, but Barometer seems to be occupied by Team Red Vipers, and they are uncontested over there.
Yep, we can also see RPB here going towards Launchpad. They are being contested off drop on Launchpad by the same team, I think, that contested them last time, if I'm not wrong. It's either that or it's HPB.
Well, we'll take a look at that. But for now, this particular team, they have dropped just in C0 Cave. And even C0 Cave seems to be one of those places which I thought would see a lot of action, but apparently not. Cascade
C0
Falls.
Caves Casino Cave's definitely a very strong place to hold because it does have spots where it guarantees purple armor as it goes on.
Yeah, that part is not even a part of actual Xenon Cave. It's like a little towards the north west of it, right? There's this little cave underneath. It's unmarked, doesn't have a name on the map. But speaking of names, here's Revenant Esports taking names and kicking ass. The car doesn't do all that much damage, but he's starting to run out of ammo, and that's what I'm more concerned about. He's found the elevation, goes in for the shot, but no, he runs out of bullets at the wrong time. He does get the knock onto YCD player, but what about the others? Apex has been knocked as well, and poor Braun, he doesn't have any bullets.
Well, he tried being Mike Tyson, but he ended up being, well, his opponent ended up being Tyson Fury because he just managed to dodge all of those punches. Tom up here having to back off and just save face for his team, try to get a few placement points. Hopefully once top 15 goes, but that's when you get your first placement point. So he's going to have to go on and move back out.
Yeah, but that one placement point, how much can you possibly do with it? Scary, bro. Almost hold out his heirloom at the wrong time, but as the Spitfire runs out of bullet, his R99 will have to do the dirty lifting. The Arcstar does help him out a little bit more, but how much can he possibly do? His teammates also steps in at the right time. Aditi with the Prowler has managed to get the knock onto GB, and there you go. The finish comes through.
Yep, Nightwing with a quick, easy, and clean fight to start off here at Cascades. 3 kill points on the board for them. I don't think we saw them in our top 6 or top 7. So that's a few points to put them up there and get them closer up to that top 5 position, making the end of this game even more interesting than it already was going to be.
Oh, let's see what happens. Usually in my ranked games and my pubs, Cascade Falls is like third-party central. In fact, forget about third-party. There's like at least 10 teams who land over here. But Nightwing find themselves alone and with enough time to go for the reset. Now let's see if they find any other teams who are hiding inside either command center or towards the wall. There is one HP who landed towards Barometer, but they've already traveled towards this gravity cannon on top of command center. And as they jump out, they will come in direct contact with the team that we just saw on your screen a few seconds ago. It's going to be Nightwing. And I think Nightwing Gaming can also have the audio cues of the gravity cannon from that range, but looks like 1HP have some other target in sight. I just hope that 1HP don't get backstabbed by Nightwing later on.
I think we might be looking forward. That might be coming up, but it looks like Cribs here has gone off on a really aggressive angle here, just zipline straight into the team. Somehow did not get beamed on that zipline as he moves on in. Now 1HP here on the prowl, looking for their first kills of game 2 here as we move forward. But their enemies seem to be just taking the gravity cannon, saying, I'm out, I do not want to engage in this fight at all, I have no intent for that. Chase me if you want, I'm going to keep running.
I don't think she's going to chase. Oh, their opponents, they fell back towards Thunderwatch. We did see Nightwing towards Cascade, and I'm sure that they must have heard all these gunshots. So, do they come in to contest them? Will they even want to go for some of these early game fights?
1HP, they're a very aggressive team. So if they do see teams within their vicinity, they are most likely to push them. But
1HP will definitely push, but I'm more concerned about whether Nightwing has the same, how do I say this, appetite for violence as 1HP does.
We haven't seen Nightwing enough before, so right now I could say, I couldn't say much right now, but if we see something new from Nightwing, if we see an aggressive playstyle from them, then we could definitely expect it as the game goes on. And moving on to RPO right here. Moving in, looks like they survived that early game skirmish that they had being challenged off drop. Looks like their enemies must have backed off because none of them do have kill points. But they do spot someone here on the western side of them. Possibly the team that contested them early on in the game here. Shots going in from Prem here, connects with the car, SMG. Will they try pushing up on this?
Oh, I love this compound. Connects 3 places just towards the side of Launchpad. Now, this little tunnel that RPO are taking right now keeps them safe temporarily, but with their position revealed and another team waiting for them just around the corner on the high ground, will this team find the safety that they are seeking? I don't believe so.
Yep.
Oh, and they're headed straight into the lion's
last
den.
game's winners that they're going to be facing here with Warlord in this group. with PBBA.
Uh-oh, another fight happening involved this time, and this time it's Ford who have to channel all their speed ahead, unleash all the engine powers. The spray from the flatline not good enough, but the Bangalore ult is going to force them back. Oh no, it's Alchemist Esports that they're up against, and they've already been down Heathen with their charge rifles down to a 2v3. Will they be able to find the advantage that they need? Because this charge rifle is keeping so much pressure maintained on that Pathfinder, forcing him to stay afloat. The Wraith Portal builds a little bit of distance between them and Alchemist Esports, but it's not like the Alchemists are going to let a little bit of distance get in between them and their prey. They want to go for these kills right here and now, down to a 1v3. How much longer can this man keep himself alive for? That is it, not much longer indeed. Alchemist Esports, they beat Team Ford.
And that's 3 more points on the board for Alchemist there that pushes them closer towards that top 5. And now we see PABB here moving on into... Well, they're moving on out, actually, of a fight. They must have got caught up there on high ground. They're definitely going to be moving on out here, as we see. Yep, definitely deciding to disengage for now. Just reset and focus on their rotation.
Here, a little moment of silence, a little brief...
a little calm before the storm.
Exactly, and calm before the storm, and we are on storm point, so the word puns, they just write themselves.
They definitely do, as we see Alchemist Esports here trying to move in on a team down here, but will they opt for it?
So far, 2 teams have already died in the wall region, and this could be a third one. They're going for the replicator, and they're just crafting all their stuff, but little do they know that there is an enemy waiting for them right around the corner. Now, the wall is not going to be in the next zone, but Thunderwatch definitely will be. We saw 1 HP towards Stormcatcher just a couple of seconds ago, but now they've taken their position back in Command Center. If they can hold Command Center, then they should be able to gatekeep a lot of teams coming through this region.
Well,
I mean, they're holding that vertical zip line, right? So,
yep.
I mean...
Well, 2 spots that are going to be a bit hot right now are the wall. We have 3 teams moving in there, and as you can see on the right side of your map here, the bottom of launch, the top of Launchpad right now, with RPO and Red Rangers here moving in on each other. Gotta see what happens.
RPO do have a little bit of distance in between them and their opponents, which is something that this longbow could capitalize on, but given that they're all just so broken and disoriented, they just have to hold still. Now they see an opportunity. They know that this team that they were up against is getting pushed and getting thirded, so they can maybe take a couple of pot shots of their own. Maybe little stealing of the pie over here.
Yep, but what they've got to be careful with is that Red Vipers is right around the corner from them. They don't want to be giving them that advantage, or unless this is Red Vipers themselves. It looks like Red Vipers is meta pick with Ashe, Gibby, and Valkyrie, and it's a bit of a tough rotation for them as they move through this open hill here. But Osam here failing to connect on his longbow shots right now as they move on in.
Oh, PABB, they are also in quite a lot of danger. But this fight, this is something completely else. Scrapper trying to go for the spray. Archangel going up against him. The Peacekeeper shots don't connect, and Evian will be able to spray him down. His teammate, Archangel, has to relinquish this region and fall back. Hopefully he can regroup with Shizuel later on. And while they're all running so low on HP, the best hope for survival is to get out of this region and into the zone as soon as possible. But I don't even think they'll get to exit this place.
Yep, definitely an unfortunate start here for our group leaders, PABB. They might try to opt for Valk ulting out of here. Nope, they seem to have found another team here just running into them. Not the best of luck for PABB as he gets flanked here by a Caustic.
Oh, flank! Is it gonna work out? Shizual now has to say goodbye to Scrapper. They thought that they'll ride off into the sunset, but it seems like Water has other plans for him. He drowns him alive. And PABB, the winners of the last game, have now been reduced to a one-man roster. Even banners cannot be recovered.
Yep, especially because they're spread out so far across the map as well. PABB just falling like pins, just all over the place, actually. Not the start you'd want to see from them if you are a PABB supporter, that is.
Oh, I just hope that the amount of points that they accumulated in the last game should build up enough buffer for them in case they have a bad game this time around. Well, they managed to get inside the top 15, so they will get at least one placement point. But that is nothing but a consolation at this point. I'm sure that they desire somewhat more than that. And keep in mind that he's starting to walk up towards Stormcatcher. After this, anything north of this, it's just going to be very, very crowded. And keep this in mind, man. We are about to see the closure of round number 2, ring number 2, and there's still 15 teams left. That's going to get quite crowded.
It's going to get very crowded. We're looking for a very exciting ending here towards the ending of our Stormpoint game here. Much more exhilarating than our World's Edge game. As we move on here to SimHub here, we're in a fight. A bit of a sticky situation here, taking quite a bit of damage. Their Caustic here have water having to back off here and probably rip a Phoenix. I don't know if he has enough time for that Phoenix because of the zone, but let's hope he can pull it off so they can get the full reset as they try to find a spot in the zone. They do have Valkyrie, and it is a bit of an off-meta pick for them, the combination of Caustic and Bangalore on the same team. Not something we're used to seeing quite a lot, but let's see if SimHub can make it work.
Yeah, I mean, you get one digital threat and both of them just get countered so hard. But still, I'm just surprised they're not using their Valkyrie just yet. It's quite a lot of distance between them and the next ring. And in the next 3 seconds, as soon as this third ring starts to pop, the damage will be amplified so much that you just cannot sustain yourselves outside. They're probably going to run out of meds before they reach the ring.
I think that they're fine for now, but once the next ring starts closing in, that's what they have to worry about. The ring, the zone damage, yeah, the zone damage is gonna stay the same for now, but once the next ring starts closing, that's when they're gonna have to worry. And it looks like Envy here. Nope, I thought he ran out of meds, but it was just him pulling off a med kit that we saw off our screen.
Okay, I mean, they're not that far right now. They're just approaching the border of command post, and then all they have to do is climb that massive zipline up, go into the spider nest region, which is a little risky because 1 HP resides over there. But there's other teams also who are having a little bit of trouble. So even though there's 14 teams left, keep in mind that there's so many of these teams who are just solos and duos. Phantom Strikers is a duo over here. I do believe that PABB are reduced to a one-man roster right now. So yeah, out of these 14 teams, 2 of them are weak.
Yep, there's going to be a lot of rat plays coming in, and we might see a rat in the top 5 again, hopefully. Just love to see just rats pop up every once in a while and just spoil the party for everyone else. It's rather fun to watch. If we can get a rat cam later on in the game, that would be good. But 1 HP here seem to have spotted their next victims, moving on in on the Gibby that Crips just cracked.
Of course I'm cracked. It's not even a question. Just kidding. I'm done with these double name jokes. But yeah, this portal play, I'm kind of excited to see how this one works. He's gonna face past the Watson fences. Now that's great because with the fences not breaking, nobody will figure out if they have been crossed or not.
Yep, but Crips here moving on into a 1v2 here alone. See if he can clean this up with the team just backing him up there with the charge rifle. I'm pretty sure that Zeox there backing him up because he always has the charge rifle in his hand. Gibby ult comes down, but Crips gets the first knock, pushes it down to a 2v1, a 1v1 actually. Should be enough just to clean him up. Zeox gets the crack with the charge rifle. Crips cleans him up with the wingman. Easy 1-2. Crips spots his next victim and moves on in. Bangalore just running in circles there, not knowing what is happening to him at all. It looks like a solo. And Crips is just gonna slide on down and be like, get off my high ground, this is mine.
Yeah, now the rest of the team is also gonna follow. It's about time that they start planning their next move, because so far they're pretty safe inside over here and they don't really need to do all that much. They have the safe zone as well, they've got decent cover, they have displaced a couple of other teams, and there are some opponents under them, so there's absolutely no reason for them to leave this region. But with RPO coming on top of them, will they be able to anticipate and manage this threat? Shizwal also towards the left-hand side, and RPO has another team coming in from behind them. 1HP has 2 teams in the same area, in the same POI.
But one thing that's working for 1HP is the fact that they have 3 rotational characters. They have the Wraith, they have Valkyrie, and they have Ashe at the same time. So they have enough to get out of these sticky situations. But once it comes to endgame and holding a spot, they might run into problems because they do not have that defensive character on their game like a Gibby or a Caustic. Crips here going on and beaming Hank and just getting him out of the lobby there. Another kill picked up for 1 HP here. And they might opt to rotate out, but knowing 1 HP, they're probably going to end up taking this fight.
You seem to know them a bit too well. Let's just hope the others also don't know them this well, because then they will be able to get a read onto them. 1 HP, getting shot from another team who's inside the zone, but for now they can't afford to focus on that one. They know for a fact that another team who was just here managed to escape towards the north side, and they have a feeling that RPO might still be in the vicinity, so they've got to make a choice. Do they continue going north, or do they move towards the east? There's danger in either direction.
Yep, and that's where that Valkyrie ultimate is going to come in handy for 1 HP, but they're definitely going to make sure that it's safe for them to get it off, because they are being focused from the eastern and the western side of this map here. So let's see if Zeox can find him a safe spot with an Ash ult first, and then Valkyrie ultimate outside from some cover. Moving on here to Red Vipers here. Zafri and Non-Kebab postured up here with the team pushing up on them. Looks like... Oh, it looked like two teams, but it's just one team holding a caustic here, but they just get pressured from two sides with charge rifles. That's got to be annoying to face.
Oh, this is such a difficult circle. 11 teams are still alive, and one of the duo squads has died. I'm not sure about the status of that solo survivor from PABB, but definitely all the other teams that you're going to be facing right now are going to be 3-man rosters. You're not going to be facing any people lacking. Red Vipers, though, holding just this little fence as cover, and El Raza climbs over top of the rock, beams down another person, and goes back to cover. Zafri also falls. It's just down to Non-Kebab in a 1v3 situation. He can't even leave this rock facade. He's got his opponent in front of him, and if he tries to go somewhere else, he's going to be beamed by another team with a charge rifle, trying to find a little space in between all that caustic gas. And he's got another team coming right to him with the Ash. He turns it into a dead box. Non-Kebab takes the kill onto Lycoris.
But is he going to be able to salvage anything from his teammate's banner here? But as the other team moves on in, but it doesn't look like he's just going to have to go on and rat out the rest of the game. Another disappointing game here coming in from Red Vipers here. Their team being wiped out in the top 10 with only Non-Kebab left, but hopefully he can get them back up.
I don't think there's any respawn beacons available. He doesn't even have a mobile one unless they can find one on these dead boxes. 1 HP though, they've taken a brilliant spot on top of the little globe house. They have got all the elevation they need. The only team who can probably stop them is the one who's currently residing inside of that building that Crips is heading towards.
I mean, you gotta keep in mind there's more than one team. There's like 2 to 3 teams that he's gonna have to look at.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have to think twice before he decides to push that building. Especially since it's not really in the zone, so he's definitely gonna have to think twice before making that move there as Crips, because he is getting shot in the back as well at the same time.
And the next zone is kind of in the open. Oh, Non-Kebab gets beamed down by 1 HP, and he gives up his kill also to the one team who doesn't need all that many points. So 1 HP just stat padding right now.
Yep, they're stat padding on their old teammates as well, so they're gonna be a bit salty. Non-Kebab's gonna be a bit salty about that. I'm pretty sure about that, knowing him. Going into the next game. Well, rest, reset, go again next game. That's all I can say.
Well, let's see if they can indeed go for the reset. What do you think about DD7 and the spot that they're holding right now? I mean, sure, they're at the edge of the zone and they need to make their way inside, but at least that's got elevation. Does that really account for anything in a zone like this?
In this zone, I think that if they're gonna have to hit their Valkyrie ultimate right now, which, well, they just did. So, oh no, he should have bubbled that. The bubble comes in too late now. A bit too late now. This is gonna get a bit interesting because DT7 has nowhere to go. They've been left behind by the team on low ground. They still have another team to deal with that is on low ground. They're gonna have to fight their way out of this because they didn't manage to get that Valkyrie ultimate off, because this zone hurts quite a lot. So it comes down to no, and that's DT7 being wiped out, and RPO here looking a bit unhealthy with 1 HP trying to push on in.
Oh, this is the compound that 1 HP was holding. Some other team has pushed them and boxed inside. Now, this is interesting, you know, because 1 HP were the ones who are either on top or underneath. Someone else tries to come in and invade their compound. They're going to be dispatching them off with relatively no difficulty. And as they find their way into the next zone, they have a decent amount of cover for themselves too. Not too many teams trying to third party on them. It's just Alchemist Esports who managed to get one knock on the Crips, but they will be easily accounted for as Frenzy goes on a killing spree and destroys Alchemist Esports. He's bought enough time for the reset, but some other team looks to get in and get a piece of the pie. It's Haiwan Gaming who wants to go ahead and finish off 1 HP before they have a chance to reset.
Haiwan Gaming here trying to solidify their first place, make up for not winning the last game here. It's a 2-man to deal with from 1 HP. Gonna pop the blood on ult, but he gets stunned by that Seer Q. Gonna try popping it again now. Gonna try going for the push here as Haiwan Gaming. They do manage to get Crips up, but he gets taken down once again here. This should be a simple 2v3 for them, and they clean up. Now they've got to focus on resetting, and he's getting ready for the next fight, as it is only a duo by the looks of it. And it should be an easy win for Haiwan. Very well played by Haiwan Gaming here, making up for the errors that cost them the last game. Definitely no errors this time. Clean and simple from Haiwan Gaming here as we move in to finish game 2.
Oh, and this is such a different vibe as well, right? From the previous game. The last game was all about holding the high ground, having the elevation. This one was just all about finding a little rock that can keep you safe in this hailstorm of bullets.
Yep, it was definitely a very chaotic ending, as we could see there. It was charge rifles targeting people from all across the map. It was 3 teams holding single buildings. And I feel like DT7 would have had a very good chance at winning that game if they managed to properly pull off, execute that Valk ult. Actually, what they had to do there was probably Gibby Bubble before putting it off, because there were like at least 3 to 4 teams looking at them at that point. They did have to burn resources, but not opting to, ended up costing them that game.
Yeah, and that building which DT7 was stuck inside, that was such a crucial building as well, because there's so many teams present in that region. I mean, you remember when we spoke about 1 HP Crips trying to portal up towards that building, if not the actual building, but like a little closer to it? I was a little concerned that he's heading towards certain death, but then I realized, hey, those guys are probably just going to keep themselves busy inside the building. They will be having no bandwidth to even take a look at 1 HP. So yeah, in retrospect, it makes sense.
Yep, it makes sense because he was probably trying to get some picks off of those kills, just steal some of their kills from them as that fight went on, and try to clear up that side of the map so they have a free rotate in as they move on. So he just wanted to take up some space there and hold that area for his team. But as we've seen, 2 of our tournament favorites moving in here, 1 HP and Red Vipers, have slightly underperformed. 1 HP not so much, because they did finish 3rd and 4th with quite a few kills, but definitely a bit disappointing from Red Vipers here. Finishing sub top 10 in the last 2 games here, but they might be trying to redeem themselves as game 3 moves on, and especially since it's World's Edge, it's their favorite map.
Yeah, let's take a look at the highlights and see exactly where it all went wrong for Red Vipers, potentially a favorite team of the tournament, but they've got no choice but to go in for a fabulous 3rd game. Otherwise, they won't make it to the semis, and that will be a disappointment. Lightning Gaming. This is the team that started fighting in Cascade first, and while this fight was a little labored, a little difficult, they did win it in the end.
Yep, and what's important is they didn't get downed as well in that fight, so it didn't give any space for a team to opt for a third party during that fight. And as we see here, Alchemist Esports starting off the game once again with an aggressive push here, as they did in the last game as well. Alchemist Esports, they did end up getting more kill points than placement points. That seems to be the theme of their tournament so far, slightly more aggressive. As we move on to watch PABB, who did not have the best of games here, moving into game 2 with 1 HP here. Crips just definitely just dominating this team just in a 2v1 as they moved on.
Oh, and as we approach this endgame segment, 1 HP, I love the way they were moving around. They went from Stormcatcher to Thunderwatch, and then you'll see that Crips alone over here is trying to go on a killing spree. Meanwhile, his teammates are still holding Thunderwatch, and they're just providing cover from him, cover for him from far away with the charge rifles. So while Crips is like the tip of the spear, the rest of the spear is being held back, being you know, in a safe place, and in case Crips dies, his teammates can still make up for it. Nankebab tried his best to stay alive for as long as possible, got a couple of kill points before he finally hit the dust, but in the end, he had to concede his life to none other than 1 HP.
Yep, the flaw with 1 HP being they get a bit greedy when it comes to endgame, 4 kills. So just not having the patience to hold back on certain pushes has costed them in the last 2 games in a row. As we'll see here, Crips getting taken down early on towards the end of that game, giving his team no chance to survive that 3v2.
Yeah, absolutely no chance. But the fact that that team managed to survive up until the second place itself is a pretty big deal, right? Now, I'm not
Right.
sure when they lost that third member of theirs, whether they were a duo right from the start or whether they lost it somewhere in between that massive skirmish that was going on. But again, they were not the team who was participating in a lot of fights. They were just holding their ground and making sure nobody else came close to them. And that conservative approach got them to the second place. Unlike 1HP, who were quite the opposite of conservative. They were just going all out, getting kills left, right, and center. And on top of all the carnage that they have cost, a third place finish. I think that's a wonderful amount of combination points that they have. Just kills and placements mixed together beautifully.
Yep, and our second place team does show that, well, being smart at your positioning and your rotation when it comes to endgame can definitely be helpful, especially even if you're a duo or if you lack the mechanical firepower on your team. If you do focus on getting on well perfecting your positioning and your end game calls and your end game placement, that's just going to take your team quite far. As they will be getting a 9 point game at least. If they didn't have any kill points, they'll be getting at least 9 points from that game because that's what you get for second place.
And 9 points is good enough, right? I mean, at this point, the max that we have seen a team score is 20 points. We haven't seen any of those 30 bombs, 40 bombs today. So 9 points seems pretty respectable. And this is just the second game. We still have one more game to go. You get like 5 points in the next game, and you should be sorted for the top five finish. That's all that the objective is today, to get inside that top five anyhow, so that you can at least have a showing in tomorrow's semifinals, or the group stage rather.
Yep, especially I think one team that we can definitely confirm that's going to be in that top 5 for tomorrow is going to be High One Gaming here, who did manage to consistently place second and first respectively in the first 2 games with quite a few kills as well. I think they had a 20-point game to start the tournament with and a win to back it up in the next game. So that's potentially another 20 to 30 points in game 2 for them. So then that's definitely them solidifying their place in the semifinals. But who's going to follow them? That's to be seen. Whether it's going to be 1HP, PABB, or it's going to be RPO, or any of the other teams that have slightly underperformed towards the start of this tournament. Alchemist is another team that we can definitely look forward to
Oh
as
yeah.
the fights go on.
Yeah, I was really actually surprised by Alchemist in this particular game. Let's take a look at the scoreboard and see how many kills they have. I'm definitely sure they have more than at least 6 kills. We saw them wipe out a team in Wall first, and then they wiped out another team just towards the end game. Oh, they only have 5 kills. Interesting. They were definitely fighting 2 squads, so I guess maybe 1 kill would have gotten stolen from them or something, or maybe they ended up wiping a duo. But either way, 9 points in a single game from Alchemist Esports is damn good. Slice Squad, a squad that we saw very little of in both these games, very little screen time, they still have 10 kills. Of course, we didn't see all that much from them because they were hiding all the time, and the only reason they have this many points is because they managed to survive all the way up until second spot.
Yep, and also a disappointing performance from our only controller, not controller, but they're our only, well, they are controller, but only console team in the lobby with Straw Hats here with another game just on basically bottom spot here with 0 points going into game 3 right now. Definitely, they have they have a point to prove as they move on into the next game. Nightwing Gaming that we saw earlier on finished with just 1 point in this game, even with the early kill point. Red Vipers and Simpub, they had a decent start in the last game, but couldn't capitalize on any of it. Ending the game with 1 kill point each as they moved on. DT7 had a lot of potential for getting quite a few kill points and placement points towards the end of the last game, but that Valkyl miscalculation definitely did end up costing them quite a chunk of points.
Yeah. Well, that was indeed a chunky mistake. Let's see if they can make up for it in the next game. But before we hop into game number 3, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be hopping into a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Intel and Lenovo presents Rise of Legion Apex Legends. This is qualifier number 2. We are done with game number 2. Only one match stands in between us and the top 5 teams from qualifier number 2. Let's see who these guys are going to be. So far, we've seen that the scoreboard is pretty evenly spread out, and while the top 2 teams may be safe, the other 3 teams, they can't really say the same.
Yep, it's three spots up for grabs for at least 6 to 8 teams in the lobby here because the point threshold isn't that high. It should be around again 20 to 25 points that they would need to qualify for the top 5 today. So a big game going into game 3 is definitely what these teams that have been ranked 6 to 15 would be looking for, especially with the likes of HAPB or Red Vipers, who did have a disappointing game 2 to start off with, and they'll be hoping for a better one because it is back on World's Edge this time, and it's their preferred map as well. So they're definitely going to be looking forward to a strong performance from them. If not, they're going to be saying bye bye to their semifinal opportunity and letting the rest of the lobby just take it quite easily from them. So I don't think they're going to retreat that easily. They're definitely going to fight for that spot, and which should make for quite an entertaining game 3. But what they do not want to do is get a bit over aggressive when it comes to their pushes and try to do things a bit unnecessarily and try to do things a bit hastily by throwing away opportunities by trying to go for the kill points that they would quite desperately need. But if they play it smart, if they play it to end game for the win, there's definitely kills for them to pick up along the way, especially if they play an edge playstyle.
Okay, I've seen this a lot in several other BR games. I want to know if this is the viable enough strat in Apex. Once you realize that you're zone screwed, once you realize that you, under no circumstance, can make it to the next ring, do you at that point just go YOLO and try to just gather kill points because you know for a fact you won't make it to the next zone or make it to the next area? Do people do that? Just give up and just try to go down in a blaze of glory?
Not exactly in Apex because you do have characters like Valkyrie that act as an extreme crutch when it comes to
Exactly.
rotations.
Even then, assuming there's no Valkyrie rotation, there's no Wraith portal available, there's no Ash Shot, nothing. Assuming you are dead and locked,
Yeah,
you're
assuming
getting it.
that, then yes, definitely teams would want to prioritize getting kill points when they realize, oh, we're in a spot that we can't win this game. But what we can do is definitely get kill points that makes up for the lack of for the lack of placement points. That is, so it's basically like the best way to lose for them, right?
Yeah.
So they go out in a blaze of glory without just lying down in defeat.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely something that happens quite a lot. Yeah.
All right. All right. And in what situation do you call something like this?
I think it's a lot of the time when you have at least 4 to 5. It's usually an end game that this
Hmm.
happens. This never
Of course.
happens like mid to early game, but when it's end game and you're in a spot that you know for sure, like say it's like a low ground spot that you know for sure that you're not going to get in, or you know that there's 2 to 3 teams looking at other angles on you, and you know there's a team right next to you. You decide, okay, we just push this team next to us. If we die, we die, but at least we don't just give up. So yeah, it's definitely something that can happen quite a bit whenever a team is stuck. A cornered animal is the most dangerous one, as the saying goes. So yeah, definitely, it has quite a bit of potential to happen in the next
Yeah.
game as well. We'll also potentially be seeing the bottom teams going a bit crazy in the last game because A, they might have nothing to lose going on into game 3, or B, they might be trying to go out and blaze of glory. They might be like, okay, we'll try to push as many teams as we can. If we die, we die because we feel like, okay, we might not qualify anyway. But if it works and we do end up getting those early kill points on, like for like say 3 to 6 kill points early game, then they'll
Then
be
you have
like,
a
okay,
chance.
well, yeah, we have a chance, and then we can just play it strategically and possibly land that 15 to 20 point game that they so covered to like get into the top 5 going into tomorrow.
Oh, and do you expect any hot drop clashes in World's Edge now that the teams have already seen each other's drop location in the previous World's Edge game? Do you expect more early game fights or less early game fights?
Well, given that it's game 3 and it's the last game, I'm definitely expecting hot drop fights, teams now do realize where everyone's dropping, and I'm pretty sure they must have seen the VOD from game 1, which is available on the stream. So they probably must have seen that, and if say the stronger teams do know the positions of some of the weaker teams, and if those teams say are lacking points to qualify, they might decide to drop on those teams to give themselves an early advantage with kill points.
Oh yeah, just feed on the weak even more and just bat your stats to the extent where even the worst of fates just cannot stop you from qualifying to the next stage. That
Yep.
could be a viable strategy that we see from some of these teams, but so far the top teams, their drop locations are more or less solidified. 1HP is most likely going to go to its thermal station. Who else? We have Red Vipers. The
Red
last
Vipers
time
go
they
towards
dropped,
Climatizer.
yeah, the last time they went to Climatizer. Let's see if they change the location, because they had to fight 2 squads over there, and that's certainly not the way you want to start your game, especially when a team like Red Vipers is already lacking points. So they might want to adopt a much more safer strategy.
Yep, we might see more teams contesting frag East and West, because sometimes teams do tend to do that when they want some kill points in qualifier rounds, especially because teams afford themselves that luxury of playing it a bit more aggressive than usual. So the last game is going to go one of two ways. Either A, it's going to be a very aggressive game, so teams pushing each other off drop and with a lot of action to start off with, or B is that teams play it smart and play it for the end game and try to get themselves those placement points and prioritize that along with getting their kill points. I think the teams from the top 5 right now, say like team number 3 to 7, would definitely be playing a more placement-oriented game going into game 3, because they want to hold on to their spot and they don't want to be going out pretty early. So they definitely want to have like that strong ending to their game, and if they go out early with a lot of kill points, that still might not count enough. That might not be enough for them to qualify. So they definitely want to get that at least top 5 with about a decent amount of kill points, like say 6 to 7. So we'll see how it pans out as game 3 is about to start right now.
Yep, all the win conditions have been set out. The math has been done. Now, only thing that we are yet to do is pull the trigger. Let's see what happens when we jump into game 3, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be World's Edge once again, and I can't wait to see what we have in store in this one. I mean, logic dictates that some of these teams who are in danger might have to play it safely, but on the other hand, you might also see them get a bit too desperate and try to go for these aggressive plays. Either way, this game is gonna be one of extremes. There's not gonna be any in between. There's not gonna be any team who just tries to oscillate in between the two and fight like one squad at a time. I don't think anyone will get the luxury of fighting one squad and getting away without a third party rolling up. I don't think any team can get away with that.
Yep, definitely on a map that's like World's Edge, where the POIs are closer together than something compared to like a Storm Point, where you're less likely to get third partied as fast as you can be on World's Edge. But once again, design wise, World's Edge is definitely going to be fun to spectate, because it is like by far the best map we have on
The
APAC
OG
South.
map, yeah.
Yeah, it's the OG map, and it's the best map for competitive by a long stretch. So it's going to be an entertaining ending to qualifier number 2 here.
Well, qualifier number 2 is here, ladies and gentlemen. And 2 is the last game of this qualifier. We start off from Skyhook, go all the way down to its 3, just bisecting the map vertically. Let's see if these teams can keep the same drop locations or change things up. I'm
We
already
have early game contests here. 1 HP, you can contest it on Climatizer, and then we see a contest coming in on Skyhook East as well, along with 3 teams moving in on Frag West and East. We see RPO here moving in to try to third party the Frag East fight that's going on right now, as they landed on Frag West pretty late.
Oh no, this is so risky! The beam from the Alt-Inner is damn good, and Primordial seem to be in a position where they can salvage this fight, but with KTM owner already dead, this could become a little difficult. GB facing off on his own, and the Wingman is good enough to kill both Stuki and Goldie FPS, and with that, they win the Fragment fights.
Yep, KTM owner back on his bike now, and they've got to reset and get ready for the third party coming from RPO as we move on to Skyhook east here, my bad, at the train station here. TLS here moving in for a kill. Their opponent's just retreating here with their caustic just on white shield, having a whole 3-stack chasing him. Not look like it's a good start for them, but TLS is going to capitalize on it. Going out and, well, eventually pick up this kill as the 6 damages do come in from the EVA 8.
I mean, I personally kind of hate the EVA 8 right now. I kind of prefer the Mozambique more than that. But at that range, if he's able to kill a person who's bleeding and hemorrhaging internally, the EVA 8 is decent enough to finish off players who's already lacking HP.
5,006 damage shots later, Dusty has been wiped off. He moved on.
I know, right? Like, back in season 8 or 9, the EVA 8 was my favorite, along with the purple shotgun bolt. But now it just seems like I can do much more with the Mozambique, man. I'm not sure if it's because the Mozam has been buffed, or because the EVA has been nerfed, or probably because both.
It's definitely both. The Mozam has received an ammo capacity buff to it, and the EVA 8 has been nerfed. It
consistently hits 45 damage now. It's almost like a wingman at medium range.
Yep, and as we move on here, Ford trying to hold in this building. Well, what they do have going for them is that they have Caustic to hold in an inner building while their teammate tries to reconnect. I am Momo's here. Unfortunately, just stuck in that corner, and I feel like it might be 1 HP pushing on down on them because they do land on Thermal, which is right next to the spot.
No.
Definitely not a good situation for them to be in as this game goes on. Red Vipers here as we move on. You see them...
This is so unfortunate.
Neighbors off.
There's 2 teams right now who have just 2 members, and all of these, not their fault. Disconnection from Nankoab, disconnection from this team as well. It's Slice Squad who's trying to corner them inside, and the Caustic Gas keeps Slice Squad away for now, but Papiloma overextends. He might just end up going down. Beyond tries to make good of a situation, and Jamar has been able to take one player down, but YCD player comes through with the trade, and here comes the squad wipe. They haven't found the 3rd person yet. They haven't found that Valkyrie who's probably still alive in there.
They might just ignore him. That being AFK might have just come in handy here for the side, but we're about to find out if they ended up seeing him. But they do not have a Bloodhound or a Seer on their team. Oh no, they found him, and that's lights out for Momos. Better luck next time.
This guy probably dropped some Momo chutney on his keyboard. That's probably why he had disconnected to clean it up. Or maybe he just had a poor internet connection, which isn't even his fault. Again, these tech issues, man. I mean, I know that they're really frustrating, both for the audience and for the players, but it's just how the game is.
Yep, there's not much you can do about it. Well, it's not something that's in your control either, especially when it comes to internet. It's just something that you have to sit and deal with. It's extremely frustrating. TT7 here moving on to Thermal Station. Spots a team holding the middle of it. Might be 1 HP because it is where they land, but could be somebody else who's moved in a bit early. We see Gummy Bunny here. Quite an interesting name.
I know, right? Kind of sweet.
It's a very sweet name to get killed by. You got killed by a Gummy Bunny.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt, right? Like, imagine getting killed by a guy named Gummy Bunny, or maybe something more, you know, chubby, like, let's say, imagine getting killed by a guy named Teddy Bear, or, I don't know, Goofball,
it's like you're getting killed by an edible, or like a...
Yeah, exactly. Certainly you can't digest that.
World's first death by edible coming in.
Kind of heading into unsafe territory here. But I can see the same about Primordials. Lovely big man headshot, but can he pluck him off midair? Oh, it's GB who's going bird hunting right now.
And it looks like another unfortunate game here because RPO here, another duo team. Looks like we've had a lot of disconnects at the start of this game here. It's going to be a rough game 3 as we go on now. Because we've had a lot of teams with disconnect so far. 1 HP here in the kill feed, taking out DT7 on the thermal side of the map right now, as we can see it here.
Yeah.
Well, RPO is trying to reset.
Yeah, with them trying to head out off Fragment and towards Harvester, I'm starting to feel a little nervous about this one. This little series of chokeholds in between Fragment and Harvester can become the death of so many teams. And that compound with the double respawn beacon, even that is like such a menace to deal with. 1 HP though. They're just trying to kill the stragglers who have been pestering them in their drop location. And as they get out of thermal and into the train tunnels, they're gonna bury their opponents alive. 2 knocks already, and a third one. As Zeox with the spray and the control on Flatline is just a menace. You just cannot avoid this one. And Gummy Bunny seems like he's gonna be destroyed. Won't be killing anyone else today.
Well, that's DT7's campaign here, down and out. We can pretty much assure that they've been eliminated because they haven't had the most points in the first 2 games. As 1 HP here moves on in for potentially 3 more KP here. They picked up the first kill on Poppy Loma here.
He dropped the bubble just before he got knocked and his teammates can't even use it. That is just so unfortunate. The Valkyrie using the VTOL jets just to get away and maybe get a little bit of more mobility. But Crips is not the kind of person who's going to just stand there and watch someone walk past. He throws the thermite at the best possible location, burns somebody as he tries to cross across this line of fire. Phases out to avoid damage, and he's just simply relentless. He's chasing them all the way into the loot vault cave.
Crips absolutely does not care at this point. He wants to kill this guy. This Valkyrie kill is on top of Crips' priorities in life at this point. Definitely getting this 1 kill, so more of an ego child at this point. He does not want to get juked by 1 player, just leaving his entire team behind back there.
Exactly.
But, it would be funny though if this Valkyrie did manage to get off. Well, and Crips' efforts are for nothing. That was unfortunate there, as Non-Kebab here finds a team in the other tunnel here towards Skyhook, turning it into a 2v2 now potentially. They can reset on it and then probably finish the rest of this fight here. Yep, it's a good start to the game for Red Vipers here. Non-Kebab picking up 2 kills from another duo in the lobby. Seem to have a lot of problems with the custom codes on this game. Lately, a lot of teams haven't been able to skirmish or practice quite a lot because of technical issues due to Apex having some problems with the custom lobbies lately. So it's a rather unfortunate start to Game 3.
Yeah, not just for 1 team in particular, but like so many of them. And that's good news for 1 HP because now they have to face teams who are going to be significantly weaker as they creep and crawl their way towards their enemies, inching closer and closer. The only thing that follows this silence is a deafening roar. And Crips once again
and Crips going to get caught out here, taking a lot of damage, but Zeox here going to come in and clean up for him here. Saves the team in a nick of time here with Octane flying on into the team and wipes out 1. Picks up the other kill. Zeox here just absolutely clean up on aisle 7 here. Right here for Zeox. Perfectly done here by 1 HP. Crips there almost died, but got the Wraith phase off in time. Rocking quite an aggressive comp here with Octane this time instead of Ash on World's Edge. Looks like I'm pretty sure we know what 1 HP intends on doing for this game, which is probably just basically W-keying the entire lobby. Yeah.
It's funny how Zeox is able to finish off the last 2 stragglers in a single mag of the flatline. Meanwhile, Crips is just always overextending ahead of his team.
Yep,
Which is kind of
definitely does that a lot as a Wraith player because he does have that phase ability to it.
I think every Crips does that. Even I have this bad habit of overextending ahead, and then my teammates abuse me after I die before anyone else.
I'm pretty sure Crips is the one who does the abusing on this hand. If you don't push with it. I don't know, maybe. I'm guessing because most IGLs are pretty intense as it goes. So knowing that he's the IGL of 1 HP, I'm just assuming that.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Maybe overextending and it's just a Crips thing. Goes for both him and me. But yeah, the difference in our letters doesn't really mean all that much. Phantom Strikers, though, the difference in their positioning could be crucial. This choke that they're holding, they're not going to get a lot of traffic out of this one because any teams who were towards the south have already left. Anyone else who's still in the region will now start to move as well. Simpub just going across their opponents, and they are very likely to land on top of Scary Bro. They've also spotted another team in the Dorito building, and they see an opportunity. Do they take it? Nope, they have completely avoided this one.
Yep, Dorito building definitely a strong spot to hold as we move in to this next round closing in. They do have quite a few teams to gatekeep here, and they do have an LOS on the team on the track. It's Scary Bro right here, who is getting pressured from the other side as well as the missile strike goes in. They will proceed to go and drop down to low ground to avoid some fire. As we move on to Resemble Esports here, trying to pick up some kill points to push them further up the leaderboard as another team pushes behind them from Thermal.
Oh, it's gonna have to tank a little bit of zone damage, but since it's just zone 1, I think it's fine. They're seeing a lot of teams behind them as well as they hear all the Valkyrie ults popping off everywhere. They just saw another team fly right above their head, so they know for a fact that the way ahead is gonna be full of opponents and they're gonna have to fight their way through this one. But luckily, they don't have to move too much in order to get into the next ring.
Yep, but keep in mind, there is a duo holding that choke there with Caustic. Now, although they do not have the best shields, they have like a white and a blue, if I remember correctly. So it's going to be... it might be an easy wipe here for Resemble Esports as they move in to the next zone here.
Oh, let's see if Resemble Esports can actually deal with that duo who's quote-unquote gatekeeping them. And they've spotted them as well now, so this should be their cue to start moving in. Now, I'm not sure if Resemble are aware about their enemy being a duo squad, but if they are indeed, then they should definitely start going in. One of them's a Caustic, so Eldrath definitely won't be affected by that. He's still paranoid about someone being behind them.
And that's definitely a possibility here with ring 3. Teams still can move in through the ring because it doesn't hurt as much. The next ring will, though. So when that starts pushing, he won't have much to worry about. But by the looks of it, the team has left high ground and has moved on to hold this spot from low ground, which might be problematic for them. And once they realize it's a shield disparity, they might push on in. Primordial's here, trying to push up here to get some kill points. Gets his crack on the Caustic GB, but his teammate goes down. Eye Trash here, getting a kill. And this is just turning out to be tragic for Primordials as they get taken out by Eye Trash.
Oh, GB somehow manages to stay alive. His teammate will join him, but can't be quick enough on his feet as he gets taken down. Lethal lying across the cliff with his arms on the floor, and there's absolutely nothing that he can do. The best case scenario.
Caster's curse.
The best thing that he can... Okay, I'm trying to turn it into a blessing. The best thing that he can do is drop down and hope that his teammate revives him, and the opponents don't drop down alongside him to finish the job.
Yep, that'll be a very tough event to happen, but well, if GB said his prayers, then maybe miracles could happen.
Oh, no miracles over here for Punisher. He is the one who gets punished, and his teammate also is just trying to keep himself alive, but he can't exact revenge though. Punisher's trade will go in vain.
And Resemble Esports here on a very strong spot to hold this next ring out. They have identified for one player to take that high ground to watch over a team that might push them from the trailer side of the map, where they do get scanned by a Bloodhound right now. But I'm pretty sure it's from the bottom, so not too much to alarm to. So should be smooth sailing here on in towards endgame for Resemble Esports as we try to move on in to find another team to watch for now, because I'm pretty sure Resemble is just going to posture up over here, relax, and they should be fine for the next 30 to 40 seconds at least.
Oh, 1 HP. They have to make their way into the zone right now, and unlike Resemble Esports, they don't have the best of spots. They've already got a team shooting at them, and surprisingly, they are unscathed. Even if they're traveling just linearly on a zipline. It does become a little difficult to shoot down people from that range, but as they approach Spring's End, they know for a fact that there's at least one team on the high ground and another one inside the compound over here. So with this information, do they approach the center of the circle, or do they continue staying on edge?
I think it's best for them to stay on edge, because that's where they're going to avoid being focused by the entire lobby, and they can just pick off fights and get isolated 3v3s for themselves. As we see TLS here trying to move in and pick up a few kill points themselves on a solo Caustic here in the building. Mischievous TLS here, gotta be careful to not go down to avoid a third party here, as Mickey just cleans up for his teammate here.
Mickey cleaning up shop. Definitely missing Minnie Mouse right now, and because of that, he's probably really, really angry, and he's channeling all that anger onto his opponents. But Crips has a Creeper. Oh my god. Ultimate. I'm starting to get scared now.
So Crips with the Kraber is a good thing for 1 HP right now as he moves on in. But he has to remember that there is another team holding the tracks on the other side, so they have to keep in mind not to overextend a bit too much so they don't get third-partied off the edge. But it depends if the other team decides to capitalize on this. But it seems like they're chasing a solo, if I'm not wrong. 1 HP does have this tendency to, well, not let any opponents go away, but it looks like a duo, so it's not Kebab. Well...
Oh, he tried to go for the disrespectful Kraber no-scope, but it looks like they don't need this one. Zafri and Non-Kebab will both fall victim to 1 HP, and they've been eliminated at 7th place. This is bad news, Ultimate. I don't think this is going to be enough for them to qualify.
I don't think so. I think it's a disappointing end to the tournament for Red Vipers here. Definitely underperforming to what their expectations would have been going into this qualifier. But now we go on back to Resemble Esports here, just relaxed and chilling on this high ground for at least another zone as they just rain fire down on what could be 1 HP moving up on them. If they do spot them, they should be trying to pressure them from above instead of just not firing shots here. There's definitely a lot of pressure to put in on the rest of the lobby for them.
Oh, Resemble Esports have a great position. 1 HP. They've moved into a safer position as well. But with the next circle, it seems like Resemble Esports have just been handed the zone advantage on a silver platter. The only thing that could ruin this one is probably 1 HP with their pot shots of the Kraber.
Yep, and if they do end up winning this could be a 30-point game for 1 HP because by the looks of it, they have around 13 to 15 kills going into the last circle.
Zeox alone has 10 kills.
Someone else is over there.
Yep, like we said at the start, they have that tendency to have that one big game in every tournament. They would place consistently in top 5, and then all of a sudden they would just pop off in the last game, going a hell of a leather right here. And they move on to pick up the Valcult to move in to get that final ring rotation as they move in with Resemble pressuring them from the top, shots failing to connect though. Are they going to try landing on them? They are!
All right.
Ballsy play here, bringing out the cojones here, but El Rata does have the caustic gas here to deal with the menace of 1 HP. Nox grenade does go down here. Crips dropping down. Decides to phase out. Crips getting caught in caustic gas here. Not looking good for them. Crips does go down. And that's dude. Well, Frenzy does pick up 2 kills with the Massive. Massive coming in clutch for him. It comes down to a 1v1, but no, that's just 1 HP, losing a member now. Quite a messy fight for them, losing out on Crips here, having to be respawned by his teammates, but definitely Zeox doing good enough to clean up. Yeah.
I mean, they've got the mobile respawn beacon up top. No other team can push them. If they want to do so, they leave that up to Valcult on top of them, or use their zipline, which is basically a suicide statement. And naturally, his teammates can just maintain pressure long enough to avoid Crips to get back on the ground and get all his weapons back. And these guys have 2 care package weapons as well. They've got the Mastiff and the Kraber. They've got both long range and short range supremacy. They've got the height and the weapons. I think this is just one of those games which 1 HP cannot lose.
Yep, and the end of this qualifier just coming down to a 3v3 basically. So we're basically now in arena mode. We have 1 HP here, who have definitely solidified their qualification into the semifinals, up against TLS here on the bottom. Who haven't had the best tournaments, but they're now into top 2 with a decent amount of kill points. So if they win this could potentially be their ticket into the semifinal tomorrow.
Yeah, and even if they don't win this game, if they can just like get a couple of points, maybe get a knock and then finish that thirst as well, that should be enough to boost them. There should be a 10-point a game for them. Even if they finish second, they have already got like 2 or 3 kills. That should put them about 10 points, a couple more. Give them a little bit of a better chance. Meanwhile, Team 1 HP have 18 kills in total already. Put that along with the 12 points you get from winning, and you have a 30 bomb.
Definitely. But what's going for 1 HP as well is that they've just cornered them in at this point. So it's just a waiting game.
and looking at each other through the window.
Yep. God forbid, if 1 HP has nades, it's basically game over for TLS.
TLS has some nades left. Although I'm not sure if using them is going to be that easy for them because they're the ones who are boxed inside. And keep in mind that they have to leave this little box and move towards the center of the circle later on. That can be easily denied if 1 HP throw nades and just delay their push. a portal play could work, but Mischievous, does he even have that ready?
I think he does have that ready, but does he have the presence of mind to pull it off right now? He decides to pull in the mobile respawn beacon to block it in, and pulls off the portal play at the same time. So it's definitely well thought out. But the thing is, his portal pushes him to like a further and more disadvantageous side of the map for them, with 1 HP looking at them from above. So there's not much they can do here besides try to move out and probably push Crips here, who's positioned on top of them.
Yeah, Crips is the one who's isolated, so if they can just somehow get the shots onto him, it would be great, but his teammates providing cover from above, acting like the Overwatch system, the early warning system has failed, and it's now boiled down to nothing but a pure brawl as the raid teleports back inside to safety. They're all stuck in this little corner, and at this point, the Master Team just make mincemeat of them. This is turning into a disaster. 1 HP have Zeok on full health, down to the last man, and all they need to do is get this last kill onto Kudatai. 1 HP left, and indeed they are the champions.
Yep. Quick, easy, and simple for 1 HP in this round. There were a lot of duos going in, so that did make life for them much easier going into endgame, because this game just finished with it came down to 3 squads when it came to the second last zone. So quite a straightforward game for them going into the semifinals, and definitely booked themselves potentially as the #1 team from this group, at least, moving on to tomorrow.
Yeah, like, so 11 kills on Zeox before this final fight started. There were 5 and 3 on the others. So do the math. They have, what, 19 kills already. Add to that 3
Six.
more points.
I think you had 6 more kills onto that, because there were 19 kills when around before they killed the third place team. That's another 3 points. So
Okay. So we have established that they are going to cross the 30-point marker anyway. Do you think they can cross the 35-point marker?
potentially, if they have picked up like 23 kills, that's a lot of kills to pick up. But
Yeah, I know, right?
they were running after quite literally everyone in the lobby. So it's possible.
Jeez,
definitely
imagine being that aggressive. Do you think they'll get to play this freely if they try to go for some similar play styles in a lobby in the group stage?
Not at all. Not at
Not at
all.
all.
Not at all. The group stage is going to be completely different. I don't even think they're going to be able to. They're not going to be able to rock this comp in the group stages at all. Well, if they want to be successful, at least. So I think they have a comp in mind that they may want to execute tomorrow when it comes to the group stages. Potentially with a more defensive character, because you're going to need those characters for endgame. But for today, for the qualifier, an aggressive comp would be more than enough to get them through.
All right. An aggressive comp gets them all the kills. Let's take a look at the highlights, because 1 HP is all over these highlights, man. That aggressive comp from them, it's just keeping us entertained all throughout.
Definitely. We started off here with Primordials here in one of the 3 teams who landed in Frag East here. And as we saw, TLS here chase down a player for about 30 seconds with an EVA 8.
Oh, imagine the EVA 8 being viable. More than that, imagine Slice Squad getting the kills and then still realizing that there's another guy left, only to find I Am Momos in a corner over here. So many of these teams had duos because of technical issues, and that's just unfortunate.
Yep, and it's not even technical issues that they could deal with, because
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure it had something to do with Apex's custom codes, because we have been facing issues with that in the past, and it's come back to bite us again. But that's just unfortunate. That's just the way of the game. Can't really do much about it. So yeah, just rest, reset, and then just better luck next time in the next tournament that you guys are in.
Oh, good luck to them indeed. At least Red Vipers were able to get a couple of kills before they went down, before they were hunted down rather by 1 HP in this match. So yeah, they were able to wipe out a duo in that Skyhook cave. That should give them a couple of points, but is that going to be enough? They need to overtake Alchemist Esports in order to make it to the top 5. But this clip that you saw from Seox, absolute madness. First, it was just Scripts moving ahead all by himself, overextending, and then comes Zeox finishing them off in one spray off the flat line. That is just ridiculous. Resemble Esports also held a really powerful position, but when 1 HP decided to drop on top of them, they just dropped.
Yep, it seems like a lot of these teams did end up crumbling in their 3v3 fights, which did end up it didn't work out too well for them. We saw the sides of Haiwan along with PABB, who were some of the stronger teams in the lobby, but even they, I think, had technical issues going into this game, so there's not much that they could do as well in game 3. So they might have lost out on that first place position, even though they had around like 40 points going into game 3. Pretty sure with the game that 1HP had, with about 20 kills or so, puts them in pole position towards the end of today.
I think that Xeox might have also set the record for the highest individual kills a person has gotten in a single game in any qualifier so far. I mean,
No, I've seen no, it's definitely higher. I think
in
the
in
record's
in,
about
in this
18.
tournament,
Oh, in this tournament, yes.
yeah.
In this
But I
tournament, for
mean,
sure.
of course, we might have seen a lot of higher numbers in other tournaments, but in this tournament, I think he might have had the highest so far. He got 12 kills, if I'm not wrong. He had 11 before the final few fights even began, so that definitely is saying something.
Yeah, I think this is the only person who's got into double digits so far in a single game
Hmm. Hmm.
across the board from yesterday and today. I'm surprised we've seen it. It's taken this long for us to see someone get into double digits into a single game in the qualifiers over the course of the last 6 games since yesterday. But eventually we do have it. And hopefully we see more of it as we go on into the 6 p.m. round of matches that you guys definitely should tune in for as we return. But we have the scoreboards for today to look forward to as well that will be up shortly.
Oh yeah. So while we are just waiting for our admins to finish off all the math, calculate the points, and tell us who the top 5 teams are, let me just remind you guys that this is just the qualifier 2 that you're witnessing. In the next few minutes, we're going to be announcing the results, and we'll find out who the top 5 teams are. They will be joining the 5 teams who played yesterday and the 5 teams who will be playing starting 6 p.m. onwards. These 15 teams will then move on to the group stage where they will be facing 15 invited teams. And in total, these 30 teams will be broken up into 3 different groups of 10-10 each. They'll alternate between the groups, pair up with each other, and play a bunch of games. And then the top 20 teams that emerge will be going to the finals. So you see, this tournament has a pretty lengthy format. You're gonna have to go through the gauntlet quite a lot and quite often in order to really, really prove yourselves and make it to that final stage.
Yep. And keep in mind the amount of entertaining teams you're getting to see tomorrow over the course of the week. We have these teams such
Oh,
as
insane.
Reignite, Burger, Revenant, Revenant, who's an Indian org with Indonesian players. They will be featuring Fat Monster, who's one of our own, along with them as we get the scoreboard for game 3 right now. Moving on in. There we
1 HP
go.
on top,
One
without a
HP with a
doubt.
35-point game. They did end up getting it. Uh, Quite a big parity between them and second place Slice Squad, which is 15 points. That 15 points might have been enough to get them in to the semifinal tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah. Slice squad with 15 kills. I'm sorry, 15 points as well. I'm very happy that they managed to survive all the way up until the second spot yet again. They did so in the previous game of Storm Point as well, if I'm not wrong, and that solidifies their position even further. The Lunatic squad having a good game, even Primordial for that matter showing up, but this is the only time that Lunatic Squad and Primordials have actually put up a good performance, and I'm not sure if this one-off game is going to be enough to take them into the top 5.
Yeah, I definitely think it's not enough because even though Haiwan Gaming had a disappointing performance in the last game with just 4 points, they had 40 points before this, so that's more than enough to solidify their spot going in, along with say the likes of Alchemist Esports and Potato Aim Big Brain, because they did have around 30 points going into this game because they've averaged around 8 to 10 points per game before this. So maybe those 7 to 9 points in the last game might not be enough to push them through.
Oh, I really hope that it is indeed. I would hate to see a talented team not getting a spot in the group stage tomorrow. Ah,
It's
although
just
that being said,
unfortunate.
yeah, that being said, I think the biggest disappointment of this qualifier has to be uh the fact that Red Vipers weren't able to do all that much, even though we expected quite a lot from them.
Yep, definitely. The last game was unfortunate that they didn't manage to have a third player. But the first 2 games as well were very disappointing, and they got third-partied off drop by a duo, and then they ended up getting wiped by that even after they got the reset off later on in the game. And then the second game, they ended up placing outside top 10 once again with minimal kill points. So I think they tried going for more of a placement-based gameplay style towards this qualifier, but the placement didn't work out for them, and they didn't end up getting killed as well because of the place that they elected to go with.
It would be so bad if we don't get to see Nan Kebab in the group stage. I mean, I've casted this guy's game quite a lot, and I've seen him in several other tournaments. In fact, I saw him in the last version of Rise of Legion, and he did really well over there. So not seeing him in the next stage, that's going to be a little surprising. But at the same time, I'm also happy to see a lot of underdogs rising and getting a chance to prove themselves against the best of the best in South Asia and Southeast Asia as well, if they do manage to qualify into the top 5. So I'm happy that these underdog teams are getting a chance. And the more they face these top tier teams, the better off they will be later on.
Yeah, High One Gaming, especially today, was the most impressive team. Especially being an underdog coming into the qualifiers. We weren't really expecting them to perform as well as they did, and now we will see how well they did overall as our overall standings have been revealed to us. Moving on in.
And drum rolls. It's none other than 1 HP on top. Hewan Gaming following at second place. Potato Aim, Big Brain. What a massive drop in the number of points. Like, the difference between them and Hewan Gaming is just a bit too much. But after that, between Potato Aim, Big Brain, Slice Squad, and Alchemist Esports, the difference is not that high. All of them in the mid-20s. And these are the teams who have qualified for the group stage of Intel and Lenovo presents Rise of Legion Apex Legends.
Well, it looks like, sorry to interrupt you, but it looks like Slice Squad's 15-point game at the end there was enough to propel them all the way into the top 4 here. They would have been stuck in below the top 10, but they have made a significant comeback going into the last game here, propelling them into the semifinal tomorrow.
Oh, well, it looks like that quote of having one good game which propels you into the top 5 is indeed true. I mean, 1 HP and Hewan Gaming had several good games, so they don't even need to sweat it. But then Potato Aim, Big Brain, they were only able to win the first game, and after that, they had a drop-off. Slice Squad made 2 appearances in second place in Storm Point and the last game. They didn't have a lot of kills, but getting those double 9s definitely helped them out. So they managed to make it to the third place as well. Slice Squad popped off in the last one. And Alchemist Esports, they were just relying on their kill points to do the heavy lifting for them.
Yep, definitely. Alchemist Esports, they were, I think, our most the most consistent squad out of like the 5 to 10 range from our placements, because they consistently were getting like around 2 to 3 teams out of the lobby early on, but they just struggled with their placement and their positioning towards endgame. So that's maybe something that they would look forward to working on maybe late into tonight, because they have to fix that pretty quick, because we have the semifinals coming up tomorrow.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's not a lot of time between the next match and now. So they better start preparing. They better just go through these demos and see what went wrong, see what they could have done differently, and maybe just learn from their mistakes. Of course, experience is the best teacher. The only flaw is it kills most of its students.
Yep. Speaking of killing things, we have time to kill over the next hour and a half before the next qualifier round starts, with round 3, qualifier number 3, excuse me, which will start at 6 p.m. IST. So make sure you all tune into that, and also stay subscribed to the Esports Club for all the action that's going to be brought towards you over the course of this week, with some of the best teams in APAC South competing on this platform.
Yep, indeed. Go ahead and subscribe to the Esports Club to never miss an update on when they go live, and also shower Intel and Lenovo with love for making this tournament possible. And because of their contributions, several talented gamers get a chance to showcase their skills and get this platform where they can come in and show us what they're made of. So go ahead and show them some love as well. Well, that's it from Qualifier 2, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be seeing you in how much time? In an hour and a half. We're going to be seeing you at 6 p.m. for Qualifier number 3. It's 4:30 right now, almost. So go ahead, maybe get a little break. Go ahead and restock on your snacks, and we'll see you on the other side in Qualifier number 3.
I'm trying to touch the States this time. 2021. Gotta show him I can still rap though.
Now I'm in the game, I was on the bench. First I was renting, now I'm collecting rent. Run it up. First it with the Beamer, now I want the Benz. Spending all the back like here I go again. Outside says the chirp, now the camera phone. Told you I'ma keep the channels on. Why you acting different when the camera's on? Why you acting different like your paper long? 8 day wake up and I thank God. Bad decision got you wishing you could say nah. My city gritty, you could get hit any day now. On my mama, I'ma move my family way out. With some 20s, 50s, hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions, zillions. I'm talking Amazon money, talking so much money I could mess around and buy Amazon. I been winning, I'm like, why me? I heard these labels wanna buy me. I don't need you, boo, I style me. I roll G's and they grind me. Now I'm on my game, nothing is the same. Who am I to blame? Money made me change. Cardi in my ring when I'm switching lanes. Money in the carry on them Boeing planes. Money in the carry on them Boeing planes. Now I got a buck for all those rainy days. Ain't have a day off in like 80 days. I got hustles in like 80 ways. Kids if he won't take a lazy day. Wifey with me told me take a break. I keep going to the paper straight. Then it's trips out to Montego Bay. If I take the job, bet I get it done. I said it before, I'm a 101. I just caught some ones, only wearing ones. Fornicate the funds, money made me come. Diamonds on your neck, bet they on your neck. You want that watch, you better rock a tech. You want that chain, you better cop a vest. You want the check, but can you make it stretch?